Hello and welcome to the Stubscast. Thanks for joining us all. Welcome, Newf Nukem. How are you?
I am fantastic, Stubbs. Thanks for having me on your program today. Been looking forward to it. I know it's been a little while in the making, but hey,
Yeah.
sometimes good things take time, right?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. It's been a while. I mean, last time it happened, I happened to break my knee. Very
Yes.
inconsiderate, weren't it?
Yes, you banged up
so
your knee pretty good there.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, it should be a pretty good show today. The Stubscast, the content creator podcast. If I can explain it to people that are new, it's basically a podcast where I talk to podcasters, content creators about the
Hmm?
YouTube and all the content they do. And hopefully, in the end, people may learn something out of it. If not, it's a good listen about how people get into content creation because everyone's got different stories about why they
Mm-hmm.
try it out. You know.
Yep.
Also, if you want to try out a new website, www.bg4ghub.com. By gamers for gamers. It's an independent website. It's not like your IGNs. You don't get any clickbait articles. It's factual mostly, and it's a pretty good site for reviews. So I suggest you'll check it out if you can. Drop a bookmark. That'd be much appreciated. Now, normally I do my own introductions, to be honest, but with Newf Nukem in the building, I think I'd rather Newf Nukem does his own introduction. I don't think I could do it justice somehow. Just the people that don't know you, really.
For
You
those
know.
who don't know me and those who do, well, here it is. Boom, boom, kaboom. It's Newf Nukem in the Stubbs podcast room. We are ready to go. We are ready to blow. I am stoked and I'm out of hose. So let's do this.
Awesome, awesome. We had one community question earlier on. It's from I'll just find it. It was about your intro.
How did
It
I
was
get the intro? I think. Yes.
yes, from Prophet of Metal. How did you come up with the greatness, the intro?
Uh, well, my answer is probably going to make a few people irritated because I'm going to have to bring up a couple of former acquaintances of mine, I guess you could say, in the podcast scheme of things, who I had the utmost respect for, and I guess to some degree I still do. But a lot of things have changed in the last couple of years. Certainly their views and how they go about the nature of their entertainment. But I'm not here to talk down about anybody.
Oh, definitely not.
I just few years back, obviously, I've been in this podcast racket for quite some time. I was on part of the Xbox Nation podcast. Some of you guys may have heard of it, which was hosted by the Crap Gamer. Mooch was part of that as well, Tim Dog, and various few. And I was
Okay.
part of that prestigious podcast for a very long time. Well, not a very long time, but for a while until work obligations and things kind of took me away. And I think somewhere along the line it was Newf Nukem, and I don't recall the exact thing, but and it may have come up through their Sunday morning podcast too. It could have been one of the two. It was sort of a mix mash because Mooch and Crap do the MNC mornings. And I don't know, it was something about, I said something explosive or something like that, and then boom. And it was kind of boom, Noof is in the room. I think it was something like that, because it was catchy.
Yeah.
And then I think sort of Crap took the moniker, ran with it, and then kind of came up with the boom, boom, kaboom. And I just, from there on, it was kind of like, then I started saying it like boom, boom, kaboom. It's Newf Nukem. I'm in the room, and it was just catchy. And now it's kind of funny because it's manifested itself. When I go into a lot of podcast chats now, as soon as
Yeah.
people see me in there, they're like, boom, boom, kaboom, Snoof in the room. And I think it's kind of cool. It's just kind of stuck.
It
Some
is
people
good.
might be tired of it, but I think it's kind of cool. It's a nice little intro, just like our good buddy Xbot has this, it's the Xbot 448, you know what I mean? So everybody
Yeah.
kind of has their thing, and K Mega and a lot of other podcasters now sort of have their little go-to lines when they come into stuff. So like Marion said, it's kind of catchy.
Oh, most definitely. No, that's a good story. That's it's quite a good story on that one. It is, to be honest. Just do a few shout outs. Thanks, Fugly, for stopping by. Marion the Mad, thanks for stopping by. Prophet, thanks for stopping by. Supersonic Station was first in chat. Well done there.
Good old Supersonic. I wonder if he's still hanging out here.
He might be. You don't know. He could be lurking. A lot of people lurk these days. You never know, though. So how did you come up with the name Newf Nukem then?
Well, another fantastic story because, my gamer tag has manifested over the years, and it really stems from a gamer tag, I suppose, originally. Like, I think the very first ever Xbox gamer tag I had was Tornado Tony. My first name is Tony. But that name just didn't resonate for me for a while, and then I went through a variety of gamer tags over the years and stuff. That's before the podcasting scene, right? So right up until I got into podcasting, my gamer tag before this was actually, believe it or not, was Ivan Wakanov for a very long time.
Okay.
Yes, it's spells like a Russian name. It's spelled IbenWackkenov. Up until Microsoft decided, hey, I broke the code of conduct, so to speak, and I had to go change it and blah blah blah. And that right in sort of around that time, I was starting to get into the podcasting scene, and I thought, I'm going to need a good catchy name. I want something too that won't be offensive, and I'm not going to be getting constantly plugged and having to change it. So once I came up with the channel, I came up with the name. I was like, well, Newf Nukem. First of all, for those who don't know and don't recognize the flag in behind my name, which, by the way, that amazing logo was designed. It was inspired by me, but designed and done by the amazing graphic god. So shout out to Mr. Graphic God, who does amazing work. So I'm from Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. So that's and in Newfoundland and in Canada, a lot of people call Newfoundlanders short as Newf. Hey, that's a Newf or Newfie. Newfie is, a lot of us are commonly known through Canada, Newfie, right? So Newf, and then it just kind of, because of my explosive personality and hence the Duke Nukem, right? Newf Nukem sounds very similar. And if you can see, if you didn't recognize, guys, look at the font of the letters in my logo. It's the same as Duke Nukem. Exactly.
It does.
So there you go. So that's it in itself. And you got a kind of a ripped and torn Newfoundland flag in the background, which looks amazing. And I love it. Like, I don't even mess with it because I just love that logo so much. So that's it.
No, definitely very good story though. It's very interesting. Like mine, to be honest, is very boring. They asked me why I'm called Stubz Gaming. My first game attack was Stubborn Word 9. And then me and my mates had a clan, years when I was a bit younger, playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Stupid ZZZ at the end. So I changed it to Stubz. And eventually it became Stubz Gaming. It's nothing, no cool story like you at all. It's just completely random.
Stubz is like, it's good. It's not, I like the name Stubz just because it's easy to pronounce. It's in some ways it's kind of funny depending on how you interpret that.
Yeah, apparently there's a zombie called Zombie. Apparently some zombie thing, Wilmy told me, called Stubz. There is.
Well, I suppose if you pronounce it backwards, you'd be called Z Butts.
So let's start at the beginning then. So when did you get into gaming then?
Well, boy, I'd have to be pretty young. I would say the official year is sometime in between 85, 86, shortly after the, and I guess I would have been around 10, 11 years old. My first console was, oddly enough, the Sega Master System. Well, most of my friends in the neighborhood were getting NESs. I had a couple of friends who had a Master System, and I was blown away with it. I mean, I love that the games that came packed in. If I remember, it came with a pack-in game. It was Hang On, and I think it was Jungle Hunt, something like that. So you had a light gun game, and you had a little racing game, and that was cool. Great way to get started. I think one of the very first games I had for Master System that I actually bought was Choplifter. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
No,
absolutely love that game. Choplifter, Outrun, Shinobi. Oh my God, I loved Shinobi. But there were so many Sega games that I had on the Master. I just loved that console. And then I ended up getting an NES. And oddly enough, after that, I got an Atari. Like, so Atari wasn't my first, Master System was, but I ended up getting Atari because Atari was still kind of relevant around that time. And all that stuff, and just progress from there. I pretty much had almost every console you can think of successively after that. So, but that's kind of when I started. Those are some of my first fond memories, and like I said, I was a Sega kid. It was and loved them right all the way up through.
Yeah, I was a Sega kid too. Because now in Canada, did they call it a Genesis, the Mega Drive, or did they call it the Sega Genesis? Or was it, because over here it's called the Sega Mega Drive?
Right, but the Sega Master System was the Master System in the UK, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it's the same
Yeah,
name. Did you
yeah.
have the Mega Drive as well? Yeah.
So here was Master System, but the Genesis was here it was called Genesis, same as in the US.
Okay. Great
Yeah,
console. Great console.
everything they do in the US is the exact same in Canada for all of the naming and stuff like that. I think even our rating system is all the same. Like I think in your neck of the woods is Peggy.
Yeah, they recently changed that because at one point it used to be the same ratings as the movies, and they didn't think that was fair, so they changed it to a system called Peggy. They did.
Right, and over here it's the ESRB rating system here.
Yeah, it is.
So, so yeah, that's kind of where it started, man. And
that's cool.
Like I said, fond memories.
Definitely. Welcome, Shiz Elite. Thanks for stopping by. If you'd like to share this show out, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing it out, Mary on the Mad. I've seen you sharing it out. If you'd like to drop a subscribe, I would appreciate that. We're slowly trying to grow the channel at 273 at the minute. I'd hope to bump it up a little bit.
Hey, Stubbs, if it makes you feel any better, brother, I've been in the podcast game since 2013-14. I'm pretty sure, if not just a little bit before that. My channel didn't even hit 1,000 subs until last year. So that was, that's well over 5 years, almost over half a decade before my channel even got to 1,000. So,
it's I do it all for fun. I do. I got a lot of watch time though. I mean, I would say I probably hit the watch time before I hit the subscriber count.
Yeah, like it's crazy because, like I said, a guy like Mr. Boomstick, he's relatively new to the podcast scene. He only started out about like maybe less than 2 years ago, and he's already exploded to 7,000. But in all fairness to Boom,
he's a hard worker.
He's a hard worker. He's a very well prepared man. He's neutral. He's well grounded. He speaks well, like I said, and he deserves the credit because he puts in the work. I haven't put in the work, and I've never shied away from it. It's like, I just rely on my wits, my talent, and and hopefully people come out to check out my shows and like my content. And so far, Gaming After Dark's been a pretty good hit. So
yeah, most definitely it is. Yeah, with Boom, you don't see a fast. It was a gradual rise, but he deserves it though. He really just put the hard work in, the hours and that. You know what I mean? It's not something I could ever do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll get there, man. Just keep at it.
Oh, most definitely. Welcome, Phantom Kraken. I think I'm saying it right. Thanks for stopping by. What are your you said you mentioned the Atari? Did you have any favorite games on the Atari?
The boxing one was kind of cool at the time, and of course Asteroids and a few ones. I didn't really have a lot of games on Atari before I don't know, I sold it or did whatever with it. I can't even remember. So I don't have fond memories of Atari. That's not like the console that sticks out to me. Like I said, it's all about Master System, and even the NES. I never really liked the NES a whole lot, to be honest with you. The graphics never stuck out to me, like Master System graphics. Whether some guys in the chat may not agree with me, Master System was a way better console from a technical standpoint, and it just unfortunately the downside with Sega Master System was they never had the licensed games. Nintendo was getting all the licensed games. They would get stuff like WWE WrestleMania, and they'd get stuff like Knight Rider and Batman and all of those games and RoboCop, and Master System never got most of that stuff. It was all like Sega's IPs, right? Sega was like Nintendo of today, like could carry its own console on the strength of its IPs. And another problem with Master System, and this was its biggest problem, I think, in this neck of the woods, was the terrible distribution of their console and their games. They were hard to find. Tonka, believe it or not, the toy company that makes like the steel dump trucks and backhoes and stuff, they were the guys who actually were distributing Sega over here, and that was brutal. It's like you get a toy company to distribute a video game console. Like, it just, the landscape has changed so much since Master System, and it was nice to see the Sega rebounded after Master System and had a huge success with Genesis, and then of course would have continued if they hadn't have overblown their load on some of the other consoles following suit.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think where they went, I think with the Dreamcast.
Oh,
that was. I never personally had one, but a family member did, and I used to go around and play it a hell of a lot. It was a good call. I remember playing. See, this is what I think. I thought this may sound stupid in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
but we were playing online against Americans or whoever,
Yep.
and we thought it was incredible playing against on the internet against people
Uh-huh.
in America, and it was only text chat. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's at the time it was really revolutionary. You know what I mean? I thought, wow, even though it's text talk and no, do you know what I mean? That was the start of the online gaming. That was.
Well,
See, Xbox gets all the praise, but the first
yeah.
console was Dreamcast to do it. You
Yeah.
know, it was.
Well, that's
You
what I'm
know.
saying. Like, that's why I've always liked Sega, because Sega was ahead of the curve instead of behind it. You know, today, say in today's world, Sega would have been Xbox, and Nintendo would have been PlayStation, because Nintendo kind of just copied everything for the most part. Now, I mean, the light gun, I think the NES had the light gun before Sega had it, so on and so forth. But Sega was a great company. They were ahead of the curve. I mean, they were one. I don't necessarily say they were first, but they were the first that really legitimized the CD format as well for gaming with the Sega CD. And then the PC Engine did their own PC CD-ROM, and so on and so forth. You know, and and they tried a lot of things. The 32X was one of the biggest disasters. Why they even decided that Genesis owners needed a 32X? I guess, like I said, society's changed. In today's society, if Sega was doing that stuff again, it'd have been accepted, because basically that's what we're seeing right now with the Series X and the Series S, right? Series S is essentially the 32X for Microsoft, because it's not their definitive console. Sega Saturn was the definitive console. 32X was for the people who couldn't afford a Saturn, but still wanted to play a little bit of that next gen gaming on a Sega Genesis. Because you're familiar with the 32X, right?
That's the problem. I've no idea what you're on about. I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
So with your Sega Mega Drive Genesis, it was like a little power converter. It was like a little box that went down into the cartridge slot, and basically the 32X games were like a little closer and a better representation of the arcade stuff that we were used to. So, for example, like they had a version of Mortal Kombat on there that looked like nearly arcade perfect. It had a far bigger color palette than the actual Sega Genesis. It had the rotation, scaling, and all that stuff was built into the hardware and not sort of software cartridge based, like like the stuff that they did with Sonic the Hedgehog. That had to be done on a software level. The Super Nintendo had it, and it was a 32-bit, right? So it was cool. It was actually a neat little device, but it was still really pricey. And the problem is right after 32X came out, Sega Saturn came out, and Saturn was a surprise launch that caught people off guard over here, and it burned a lot of bridges. People weren't really done with Genesis, and some people had upgraded, and then of course Sega didn't really support 32X very long, and people got burned, and that was a big problem. That's why a lot of people were reluctant to get the Dreamcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it makes sense. I mean, but by the sounds of it, in that area, you bought a console and you didn't know how long it was going to last before they bring something new out. You know, you'd be terrified now if you bought a Series X. Says, hang on, in 2 years' time, all your games are out the door. You got to buy something new. It wouldn't work, would it? Now, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, try pulling off a PS4 Pro and an Xbox One X, say back in the 90s. Middle of the 90s.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened.
No.
Those consoles would have been dead. We're like, what the fuck? We just bought our other ones, and now you guys are popping this on us? No, it wouldn't have worked.
No, it's a whole new era of gaming. It is, in the whole time that you've been gaming, right from when you started to now, what would you say your favorite game controller is? Going back, or just your retro, and then your current controller, however you want to put it.
Great question. Honestly, from a retro perspective, I really enjoyed the Sega Genesis, the arcade pad. Not the original one that came with it with the 3 buttons, but the one that they upgraded was smaller, that had the better D-pad and the 6-button configuration. That was really good.
Okay.
I didn't like the original Sega Saturn controller. Remember, when they first launched, they had the big bulky one, and then they sort of toned it down a little bit, much like Xbox did with the original Xbox. And that one was pretty sweet. You know, I thought the Nintendo one is one of the most memorable, the N64, because that was
Yeah,
the first
it
time
is.
that we really had the actual analog control, and you started to feel that with a game like Mario 64. But it was kind of really awkward at the time, and but it felt okay, and it was sufficient for the games. But I mean, in terms of today's controllers, hands down, it's the Xbox One controller. It's just the best controller I've ever had. Especially like I have the Elite Edition, and with the rubber gripping, the actual heavier weight, the more responsive triggers, the whole 9 yards. Hands down, the Xbox One Elite controller is the best controller I've ever had in my hands.
Wow, I'm not. The Xbox Elite controls, them ones that are a bit more expensive. Do you mean?
Those really expensive efforts,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they cost me $150 Canadian. It's like
You've had
stupid.
no issues. You've had no issues with them, man. A lot of
I've
people
had
say
no
they have.
issue with mine, and I use it all the time. People complain about the trigger. I don't know what people are doing with their damn bumper buttons. Everybody's always complaining about bumpers. I'm like, what are you doing with them? Are you banging them on the floor? Because all my years of having Xbox controllers, I hadn't have a single controller with any issue. I'm always hearing people talking about drifting controllers. I've never had
Yeah,
a
I've
drift
never had
issue.
that. I don't know
I've
what you're
never.
talking about.
So I don't know, guys. Maybe you got to stop eating pizza and chips and having all the grease go down inside your controller, because my shit's always working good. So I don't know where everybody else is having so much troubles, but I've never had problems with mine at all. Maybe I'm
No,
just lucky, but I don't know. I'm starting to find it a little bit fishy, if you ask me.
oh, definitely a good bunch of answers there. I mean, it's like the free. I would agree with you. The Xbox One control is very good, but I remember when I first got the Xbox One, I was very because I thought the 360 controller was perfect. You see, and I was against it, but in the end, Xbox One controller was better. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like the Series X controller. Although I haven't tried it, it really doesn't look much different. Apart from it's got low latency and a share button.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I see people moaning, "Oh, they haven't invested all this money," and I went, "Well, actually, I'm sorry to say, Xbox invested millions upon billions
Yeah,
years ago, and now the controllers that refined, it's just minimal adjustments have made because they don't need to. It's always just saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've just added
exactly.
slightly a little bit. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's
Um,
it's like it's like the computer gaming mouse, right? It's
yeah,
fundamentally the same thing for the last 30 years, but if you look at a really good computer gaming mouse, they're a lot better, right? They're more
yeah,
ergonomic, they're more responsive, they're just better built. And Xbox is the same thing. Like, yeah, if you have a successful formula, why mess with it and screw with it? Like to go on
exactly.
a what are you gonna do? Make a new shape just because it looks cool, but then you put it in your hand and you're like, oh my god, this thing is like you, you know, it's
Oh no,
terrible.
I totally agree. Welcome, indie gamer. Welcome, Warwick Gaming Channel. Thanks for stopping by. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, obviously, I presume they're going to be better, but the low latency will offer a lot better experience. But in general, it's the same. But PlayStation, with their dual sense, have made massive upgrades because compared to how much Xbox has invested in their controllers over years, PlayStation hasn't really in comparison. So that's why you're seeing massive upgrades on the PlayStation side of things. The dual sense does look good at some point. I do actually want a PlayStation 5, but I can only afford the Series X just for now. You know, I will get one eventually. You know, down the road, I
I
will.
mean, the PlayStation 4 controller, the DualShock 4, I really like that one a lot too, to be quite honest with you. Like, that's hands down to me of all the PlayStation generation, best controller I've had yet. The only thing that takes it away from me is the positioning of the analog sticks. I never was a fan of the analog sticks like together. I always like that asymmetrical thing that Xbox has going on.
Oh no,
But I mean, compared to the PlayStation 3 controller, first of all, their triggers were way better. I mean,
yeah.
the controller has a touchpad, better rumble features, and it's a little heavier. It just feels nicer. It was a great job. That's why I'm excited for the DualSense 5, because that thing looks amazing. I've heard nothing but really good stuff about it, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Obviously, the controllers are still in the same damn position, which means right there, it'll never be as good as the Xbox for me personally. But I have heard that there are some pretty good third-party aftermarket ones that are very similar to the PlayStation, but do have the asymmetrical thumbsticks.
Oh, most definitely. I've just seen a comment in the chat from Warwick saying, "I love the Xbox controller. still, but basically wishes they would have an internal battery rather than rechargeable batteries. And I think you'll find the reason they've gone with rechargeable batteries is the general consensus from Xbox gamers is they want rechargeable batteries still. I don't have to go out and buy. From what I understand on Dealer's video, or one of the videos, you can still use your old rechargeable batteries in the new controllers, but they will be offering new ones that take 4 hours to charge, and it's got a hell of a lot more charge. But I do personally prefer to buy rechargeable packs than internal. You know,
you got to look at it from both sides. There's pros and cons to both the way I look at it. Because here's the thing: if you're a PlayStation guy, yeah, the best thing about that is you don't need to have a stack of rechargeable batteries or regular AA's kicking around. So there's less constant buying up front, I suppose you could say. There's like it's packed in, right? But what happens if you have a faulty controller? What happens if that battery finally kicks the bed? They're not meant to last forever. So then what? You have to send it to a tech to get it taken apart. I don't recall going into my local Walmart and seeing replaceable PlayStation 4 batteries anywhere. So what do? You got an $80 piece of dud, whereas like Xbox, people are still using 360 controllers from years ago that are still working perfectly fine. They're old as frig, but they're still going. So, yeah, for me, here's my solution. You go out and buy one of those battery packs. They're rechargeable ones. You can get lots of good ones now.
Exactly. You can.
Stick it on. No different. If you have two and you keep one always charged and you have one in your controller, Bob's your uncle. What? It takes 5 seconds to pop the plate off, stick the battery on, and you're going. And plus, AA's, rechargeable batteries, and the rechargeable battery packs generally last longer than anything that's in the PlayStation, because that fucking DualShock 4 is ridiculous, man. You play a couple of games and you're just like, oh, got to charge it again. So, well, I hope you got your cord handy or you got another controller ready to go, because otherwise you're kind of pooched.
Well, definitely. I mean, you might laugh, but I've got rechargeable batteries wise, that's in the charge packs. I've got about 5 laying about, just in case.
Yeah, if you're a serious gamer and you don't have at least 2, man, like, I don't know, then you ain't serious gaming.
Oh, no, definitely. But no, yeah, that's fun to talk about, that was. But yeah, like Indy was saying, there is a few more enhancements on the Xbox controller and I spoke about, but they're not massive enhancements, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're literally,
Well, the big one that stands out for the Series X is the share button, right? But I can't really vote about that because obviously they're just borrowing what Nintendo and Sony have already done. So this is the one time where Xbox blatantly copied that. But a lot of people don't understand either. You got to remember that when the Xbox One came out, they didn't need the share button because your Xbox Connect was your share button. You were supposed to be an Xbox. Capture that, right?
Exactly.
That was it. That was as quick as it was, and I used it, and it actually worked with the Xbox. Capture that. Boom. Done. But then once the Xbox One got kiboshed, or the Kinect got kiboshed, that was it. They kind of screwed themselves. It's like, well, now our controller doesn't have a share button. You got to go through 2 or 3 extra steps to get it to do the same thing. It wasn't the end of the world, but sure, it wasn't as easy and handy as just doing it on the PlayStation. Hit one button, go boop, share.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. I mean, it's and then what do you share? I mean, it's it's. I can say one thing. If I've seen a lot of people go, oh, they need a YouTube direct streaming button on the Xbox. I'm going to tell you might agree with that, Newf, but I'm going to tell you something for nothing. If anyone thinks they're going to ever have that, they can dream on, because Microsoft as a corporation do not get on with Google YouTube. They're business enemies. And I think, because apparently I heard rumors about the YouTube app, that Xbox maintain the YouTube app. Yeah. I think it was someone like Tim Dog a few years ago said that there was a big bug that broke it, and they went to YouTube asking him to fix it, and they turned around and said, "You guys fix it." So I don't know if it's true, but I don't think they have a very good relationship, corporate wise. So I think you just going to end up with Twitch again. Just hopefully they've got an improved and great Twitch app.
Well, I wish I could say it was, but the last 3 times, I don't know if anybody can help me with this, but every time I go to Twitch or stream a game lately, there's 2 things that happen. Well, I've tried to stream a couple of games that just right off the bat tell me I can't stream the game. I tried to stream Spec Ops The Line a while ago, and then for some reason it said this game is non-streamable. I was like, what the fuck? I think I tried to stream Mafia 3. They said that was unstreamable. I was like, what the hell is going on with this? So they wouldn't let me stream that game. And on top of that, the last 2 times I've tried to stream a game, my chat doesn't work. I can see people watching, see the little
Yeah.
viewer count, but the little chat box doesn't come up where people's responses are. And if anybody knows me, I don't even want to do a stream if I can't interact with my chat, because that's half the reason I like doing it, and that pisses me off. So if anybody got any suggestions as to why my Twitch fucking works like absolute shit all the time, please let me know.
Yeah, well, if you're on the Xbox, the chat box doesn't come up anyway. It never
Really?
has done for me.
I'm pretty sure it did, unless maybe it's just on the PlayStation then.
I think it's just on the PlayStation. It's not on the Xbox One.
Well, that would explain a lot. I'm gonna have to test that theory now. I'll try it on both and see what happens.
Yeah, I reckon that's what it is. Because the odds when I do stream, I open up my phone and use the chat on there. I do.
Maybe somebody in the chat knows. Is there a Twitch chat box on Xbox?
Someone will know. Welcome, Maconda News today. How are you? But yeah, no. So, what would you say it's a double loaded question? Like your favorite, say, game of all time, like from back in the day to now, would you say that would have changed because your game style's changed as you've got older, or has it stayed the same?
No, I'm going to answer this question extremely easy. No game has made more of an impact on me and has blown my mind more than the original Gears of War.
Thank you, everyone. Gears of War fan. Yeah.
I'm a huge Gears of War fan. Am I the hugest in the world? Absolutely no. I don't have every piece of merchandise. I don't have blah, blah, blah. I don't live, sleep, and eat Gears. But I am a huge Gears fan. I love the franchise. It is the reason I got back into gaming. It is the second biggest reason I own an Xbox 360. And I'll tell you the first one, Call of Duty. Call of Duty 2 on Xbox 360 blew my mind. I was almost ready to give up on gaming back in that point at 2005. I was like, I'm almost done. I don't know. I had no desire to game. And I was kind of really let down by the Xbox generation and the PS2 generation to some extent. And I was kind of like, and it was just a lot going on in my life at that point in time. And then the 360 came out and I saw Call of Duty and the pictures and the video, and I went, wow, World War II game looks like this. That was when it kind of hit me. And man, these games are realistic now. But in 2006, 2005, when I first saw magazines with pictures of Gears of War, what is this intriguing looking game? What are these massive, over the top, crazy looking characters with these awesome looking outfits and these chainsaw guns?
Yeah.
And I was like, if this game turns out to be as good as its visuals, I'm like, I'm sold. I'm fucking sold. And once I started hearing and I saw some footage of it a little bit later on, I was blown away. I was like, dude, I'm getting this Gears of War game, and I never looked back. That Gears my jaw could still be on the floor somewhere after I seen that game, Stubz. That game just blew my mind. It still today resonates with me. Everything about the story, the characters, the graphics, the play control. That's my definitive title, man, because no other game has had that impact on me the way that franchise did.
Go. I can't agree with you enough. For the chat will know that, and the indie gamer just laughed and put Stubbs sounded like me when Pugsy said Hollow Knight was his favourite game last night, because indie gamer's a big fan of Hollow Knight. And everyone knows I'm a big fan of Gears. I am. Do you like Judgment?
Yes, but it was definitely the worst in the franchise.
Yeah, because it wasn't made by the same developer. It was made by People Can Fly. Even though it says Epic Games, they didn't make it.
Well, Epic Game was co-involved with them, just like Epic Games was co-involved with that game, Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Cliffy B and them did have, at the time, they did have input into that game. But I think what was the problem there, and I think it was a big reason why Cliff decided to leave. Now, like I said, partly speculation, but when it's like any franchise, when it starts to become big and it's sort of your flagship title, right? What's the first thing that everybody does? EA is famous for it. Get another one out as soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Flood the market. I thank God Gears of War has not turned into the Assassin's Creed franchise. And I mean no offense by that. I don't mean Assassin's Creed is bad. I'm just like, to me, why I don't get into, because I don't want an Assassin's Creed game every year. And I feel like we've had how many Assassin's Creed games this generation? 7, and we haven't had a single Splinter Cell. Get that through your brains, people. Not one Splinter Cell since the 360 PS3, but we've had AC Unity, AC fucking roll. I don't know. There's been so many. Odyssey. There's been about 5 or 7 of them. I don't even know. Seven games. That's almost one per every year. It came 2013. Yeah, that's almost one on a 1 year, 1 game per year basis. Crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, I've never been a fan of it. I mean, the two. It's not my kind of game. I do prefer Gears of War. I do. I mean,
I applaud what they did with Judgment. I love Baird. I think Baird and Coltrane and those guys are awesome. A great secondary. So I applaud what they did with the story. But here's where I really lost me in the game. One, they changed the play mechanics. I think they had one of the face buttons be the button that you switched out your weapon with instead of the D-pad. Now, I suppose perhaps you could go and change that. I don't know, but I didn't like that right off the bat. I didn't want to press Y to switch to my gun because I think they left the D-pad or something for something else. And then they had these stupid parts in the game where they were like mini horde modes within the game where you're stopping and it takes you out of the action and you're basically doing a stop and defend bullshit. And if there's one thing about any of the Gears games, and it wasn't in the first couple, it was like in the newer ones, like I think it was Gears 4 had it and Gears 5 even started to do it, where you have these little sections where you got to defend stuff for 5 minutes and you got to set up, like that was in Gears 4. Remember the part where you're in the yard with Reyna?
That was annoying.
And for fucking 5 minutes, you got to beat all these waves by setting up the barriers and shit. And I was like, why am I playing Horde in the middle of my camp fucking paint?
No, you are. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that time.
That's like every game that has that stupid, oh, we're stuck in a building and we got to wait for the chopper to show up to bail out for 6 minutes and you just shoot endless. I hate those. When I get to that shit, I'm like, come on, guys, come up with something more creative than, oh, we got a timer, 10 minutes. Hold the fort until we get there. It's like, I can understand it in 1 or 2 games, but it seems like it's like every game now doing that shit.
Oh, most definitely. But like, as you say, with Gears of War, the one thing they did create, and not many people credit them for, they did create a horde mode. Mm. And every game seems to have a version of horde mode, but it's not called horde mode.
Yeah,
waves and waves of enemies. It's Gears of War. Not many people know it or credit them for it, but it was them. But yeah,
the coolest part of Judgment that most people didn't realize, and I think it was Judgment. Isn't that the one that had the expansion called Rom Shadow, where you actually
no. Gears 3. I know that for a fact.
That was awesome. That was cool.
That was the funny thing with Judgment though. It died. I mean, the online died about a week in. It died. Everyone went back to Gears 3. You know.
Well, that's the game came out a year after. Like, Gears 3 was still fresh in people's memory. People were still like enamored with 3. Then this game comes out, and you're like, "Oh, so you expect us to go play this one now?" You know, like that's the thing. Like, that's why I don't want these games every year, because I like them to reinvent each franchise a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, put a little bit more into it instead of kind of rehashing and just, you know, taking fans for a ride for another $80.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. No, you've picked a very good title as your favorite game ever. Most definitely. As a lot of people know, anyone that mentions Gears of War, I'm off.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, like, if you go back to the 16-bit era, I mean, the game that fully blew me away, like on the Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, whatever you want to call it, was Revenge of Shinobi. I love Shinobi. Like, the original Shinobi arcade game was amazing. And then when this Revenge of Shinobi game came out, man, I pumped like so many hours into that game. And my buddy also had Capcom's Ghouls and Ghosts at the time. And my God, that was just incredible. And, you know, after going back and playing them, one thing I didn't realize at the time, but yeah, the Super Nintendo version of Ghouls and Ghosts or Super Ghouls and Ghosts looked better, but the Genesis one played a lot better. The Genesis, the one that the Super Nintendo has got so much frame drops. It like the game fucking stutters. So sometimes you're dying just because the game like stalls. It's, you know, and the Genesis one was fluid. And maybe that was because the Genesis processor was better than Super Nintendo. I don't know, but yeah.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it was probably something like that, something technical. Well, welcome, Fastback. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Were you when you were growing up? Did you go in did you have any arcades where you were near? Were you always in the arcades playing video games?
There wasn't any near me, but whenever I went to the city, I went on trips that had arcades. I guaranteed if I was close to one, I went in one and I played, you know, games what I could, whether go in and play Street Fighter. I was a really big fan for me of the games where you had like, like the big arcade machines like Afterburner or Outrun or Mannix TT, stuff that had a bike or stuff that had light guns. Those are the games I really liked playing in the arcades. You know what I mean? So that was great. WWE WrestleFest, or I guess it was WWF back in the time. All that sort of stuff. And by the way, I want to acknowledge Fandom Kraken because he mentioned one I totally forgot about, which also was a revolutionary game for me. Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. To me, that was amazing because at the time I was just transitioning to my Sega Saturn, and I think it was 2004. This game comes out practically out of nowhere by RareSoft, has graphics they've never seen before, and we certainly didn't think would even be possible on a Super Nintendo console. And the play control, the characters, the level design was off the hook. So, if there was any 16-bit game that just kind of stopped you in your tracks, Donkey Kong Country. This was next gen shit on the old gen shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it blew my mind. I remember the promotions Nintendo had back in the day. It was crazy. I remember having the Nintendo Power magazines, and they were even sent me out a VHS tape. Yes, a VHS tape, guys. That tells you how dated I am. You guys remember VHS? So I sent out a VHS tape with Donkey. It was a promotional VHS tape. So before the game even launched, they sent me one where I could actually watch video of the game. And I thought at the time that was freaking cool.
Yeah, most definitely. It was ahead of the demo disc. It was.
Yes, it was ahead of the demo disc. It was basically video footage, and it was before the internet. It was before. Well, I guess the internet was around, but internet wasn't very common then. So
that was way ahead of its time if they were doing that. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't. I think there might be a bit of an age gap between me and you. I didn't think there was.
I'm 44.
You're 44.
44.
You got 10 years. You got over 10 years. I'm 35.
There you go.
You started mentioning 85, 86. I was like, I think you knew slightly older than me then.
Yeah,
I've seen your videos. You don't look that old, to be honest. I thought you were about my age.
A lot of people tell me that I look a lot younger than I am, but yeah.
You do, definitely. It's a good thing, really.
Well, I guess so. Well, I got the face of a 30-year-old and the penis of a 10-year-old, so I'm sorry. Just kidding. That's Mr. Boom Boom Kaboom. Yeah. No Chills. No Chills is the other nickname that I haven't heard in a long time, and that was courtesy of Def Jam Bam in the community. Called me No Chills, Newf Nukem. Because I say what's on my mind. There's no filter. You guys know me. If I am the rated R superstar of this podcast game, I take raunch to a whole new level. And sometimes I'm only held back just because, I don't want to get my channel flagged and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can't be too careful anymore. That's the problem. There's too many people that get offended.
Oh my God. Tell me about it.
Welcome, Judzilla. Thanks for stopping by. And
good.
Yo, dudes, up stubs, and you filthy lot.
Yes, I'm a filthy lot. Yeah, no, that's great questions, man. Like I said, you're really bringing me down memory lane here, right? I'm
trying to. It's been a while since I've done Stubbs cast it, and I was working them out earlier on. But yeah, no. Well, thanks for stopping by. Mensiko. I always get his name.
Masuko.
Masuko, that's it. Masuko. I'll get better next time. I will. Thanks for stopping by, mate. Now it's a question because you're not a closed-minded gamer. You'll try anything.
Yeah.
To you, what makes a good game to you? Now, does it have to be a AAA budget, or are you open-minded to the indie game awesomeness? Because sometimes, in my opinion, an indie game can outweigh a AAA game because some of them are honestly crap. What's your view on it?
I love indie games. I love them when they try something new, but I also love titles that look very, very unique. But I like the indie games that sort of look like they're not indie games, almost like they could flirt with that AAA, but yet there's something new and unique. For example, I can think of a bunch of titles that I really loved over the last 5 or 6 years in particular. Like I really loved when the Xbox One came out. Remember Max and the Brotherhood? Curse of the Brotherhood.
Yes.
Like that was an incredible game that I enjoyed immensely. The whole crayon concept and drawing the stuff. You had Limbo. I remember how much Limbo blew me away when it first came out. Such a basic game, like little dude walking through this black and white world with all this stuff and some crazy stuff like that, like Limbo. Little Nightmares blew me away. Unravel was another one that I really enjoyed. The list goes on. I mean, obviously, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, two amazing ones. Probably my favorite indie game so far that I've ever played. I still haven't beat the damn thing because it's hard as heck. You guys might know where I'm heading with this one. Cuphead. Oh, my God.
I've never tried it. I've been scared to buy it. But it looks incredible. Dude, but
it's hard, but it's the fun kind of hard. It's the kind of hard that, you kind of swear at it, but it keeps you going back because it's so unique and it plays so well. You never feel like in Cuphead, like I'm dying because the character doesn't respond or the game is laggy or the level design is bad or blah, blah, blah. You feel like, okay, I died because I'm screwing up. Right? It's that thing, and you adapt, and the longer you play. And a lot of these bosses, like for the average person, it could take you 30, 40, 50 minutes. If you're beating them within, first 5 or 10, I'd say, well, then you're a pretty unique gamer with amazing hand-eye reflexes and can read stuff really well. But Cuphead was just absolutely a dynamite. Like I said, but I'll play just about anything. My biggest problem with indie games, though, is the flood of indie games now. That's the problem.
Yeah, some of them are
too many.
Some of them are good, and that's like why we all look forward to indie gamers' videos so you can get the gems.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them are not very good, and some of them are great. But there is too many sometimes. There is.
There's one that came out, I think, last year before last, that I really want to play. I haven't downloaded it yet. Kind of keep waiting for a sale. I think you can play it in Game Pass, but I don't have Game Pass. And that is The Messenger. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's kind of like a New Age Ninja Gaiden.
That's in Game Pass, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good game. I started it. I've got to get back to that. That's the problem. Sometimes you can have too many games in your backlog, and you're like, oh, I'll give that a go, and I'll give that a go, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You get lost. You come when a new game comes out.
And sometimes you get some really good ones too that I don't think about, but and Xbox Live Gold is actually good for this. Is Xbox Live Gold a lot of times does put over some indie games I never heard of, games I wouldn't have tried, and you get them on Xbox Live Gold. I mean, just recently, I've never tried one of these games before, but it was Shantae, the half something genie or whatever, like the little genie girl game. But this was one of the newer editions where the graphics look more hand drawn, and like that was very, very enjoyable. That's a game I probably would have never spent money on, but now I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool game actually.
No, that's good to hear. It's in my view, this generation has been the best generations for indie games and the appreciation for indie games. Problem is trying to change a lot of these people who just play Call of Duty and all that into a lot of people missing great games because they're blinded. But we'll get there eventually, hopefully.
Well, that's why I don't finish enough games, because I'm playing so many different games. I don't sit there and play Fortnite consistently, play, these same games over and over. I have buddies who are like that, and it drives me nuts. They'll go and buy a brand new console. They will literally spend hundreds of dollars for a new console. I got a buddy right now who's buying a PlayStation 5, and guess what? He's not buying it for Spider-Man. He's not buying it for any of the first-party titles. You know what he's going to buy it and play on it the whole time? NHL hockey.
Oh,
are you kidding me?
I know. A lot of them do. A lot of people do, and that's all they play. And it's sad because there is so much people are missing out on, because they won't play anything else. But
I can't do that. Like me, I don't even like Call of Duty much anymore. Like I bought Modern Warfare, and I have zero intention of buying Cold War. I'm not even interested.
Yeah, I used to be like you. I used to buy it every year, and I haven't bought one since. Let's have a think. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and because I used to be one of these people, I'm not buying it this year. I'm not buying, and then to buy it, and I haven't bought it since after. Excuse me, after Black Ops 4. I tried the beta out for Cold War, but I played one match. I thought this ain't my game anymore. I just deleted the beta. I did, I
love World War II. Like I was happy when they went back to the World War franchise, because to me, when I think of Call of Duty, that's really what I think about. I think about the origins of Call of Duty, when it was Call of Duty, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty Big Red One, Call of Duty Finest Hour. Those games, like that was what defined Call of Duty. And then, of course, Activision got that oh, this franchise is unstoppable. It makes us billions of dollars every year, even though it's practically a copy and paste with 2 or 3 different studios. And it's never going to end, because that's the bottom line with them. They make too much money on it. The same puppets. I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but yes, the same puppets buy this fucking game over and over and over and over again, because I don't know. I guess they got something. They got some sort of an addiction thing going on with that franchise that I don't understand. I like it, but the problem with Call of Duty in itself is not really the games and the campaigns. The I guess you could say the player base now is so huge in Call of Duty that I find the online is often very enjoyable, because now you got crossplay and you got all the cheaters and you got all the freaking racist, homophobe morons online with the microphone, and you know what I mean? And you got the little try-hard kids that calling you the F word every 5 seconds and, oh, get a life, all that bullshit. So
I know, mate, because someone asked me that question. Why do, a while back, someone I know asked me, he says on PlayStation, because they've got all consoles. They asked me, why is it in the lobbies in Call of Duty and that on Xbox no one goes on the microphone? And I explained, it's because people set their party chat so they don't have to hear what you're talking about, and little kids screaming down the mic. And the problem is now, anything you say wrong over the main chat, you can be you can get suspended for. Even if it's not offensive, it could be deemed offensive.
Yeah.
So most people don't bother. Now, Fugly wanted me to tell you something. Where was it? Go back in the chat.
Tell them the NHL is including Game Pass.
It's not exactly. It's not exactly true. What it is because EA Play is going to be included. But what it is it won't be NHL 2021. It will be the demo version.
Right.
It's not including the EA Play, the full version. I'd be highly surprised if it was. It'd be a 10-hour demo.
EA is not putting in full price games in the Game Pass or EA Play, period. And they might put in an older version, like maybe you'll get like Madden 18 or something like that, but you're not gonna get anything that's recent released. And and that's the thing with these sports guys, they want the latest and greatest. They're once the next one comes out, they don't play the old ones. I haven't bought an NHL game. Actually, I haven't bought any of the sports games since 2018. I have Madden 18, FIFA 18, NBA Live 18, and NHL 18, and I even got what's his name, Rory McIlroy's PGA Tour, and that's it. No more sports games for that.
Fair enough. Welcome, Dreadbull. Thanks for stopping by and sacrificing some sleep, by the looks of it. Cheers, mate. I appreciate it, but don't wear yourself out, Here's a question for you. Now, this will probably spark you off. I love the fact you're still a big physical media guy as regards to gamer. Do you think this will ever change?
I guess at some point it has to. It's not that I want it to, but I guess at some point it has to. Take the line out of old Lethal Papa's book. Newf, sometimes you just got to get with the times. And I have to some degree. I mean, I have way more digital now than I ever did. And that's not really because I choose to, but it's a lot of the games now. There's some games I found are very hard to get physically. I prefer to go into my retailers and buy them. I don't like online because I don't like that constant waiting and don't know if it's showing up and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I know what you mean.
So there's that. But I can foresee, I don't know, maybe the next console gen, if not the one after, but I definitely think it's within the next 1 or 2 where disk drives are the way of the dodo. And I think a large part of that depends on 2 things. It depends on the consumption of digital media. So obviously they're going to look at the statistics of how much people are consuming, how much they're paying. So when those numbers really dwindle, say it's like it starts to get like 85% digital and the rest is physical. And you also got to look at how many retailers have the ability to offer that physical, right? So if the benefit is not there, then why publish it? Because they will save money by having to not publish a disc, make a plastic case, put the artwork in, et cetera, et cetera. That sort of thing. So eventually I think I will stubs have to come around because I think that's where gaming is. Otherwise I'm going to have to give up gaming. I already do like digital through my Oculus Quest 2 because that's all you can do. It has no console. It has no hard drive. Well, I guess there's a hard drive.
Right. You have to log in with Facebook now.
Facebook. Yeah.
That must be
You
annoying.
know, and music,
Yeah.
I always was CDs. I still do, but fucking trying to find CDs now, dude. It's actually easier to
Oh,
go out and buy It's easier to go out and buy the vinyls now. It's like stupid.
yeah. It is. It's really hard now. It
Yeah.
is. You know, it's MP3's completely dominated
But
music at us.
but what drives me so much, I suppose, and I know people won't really have a hard time seeing things my way. It's this. Um, well, one, I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I don't have to get up and change the disc." And
That's
what that tells me, and I'm sorry, guys, but how
lazy.
lazy can you be? You're not sitting
Exactly.
that far from your console. It's not that hard for me to get up and pop in a disc, right?
Exactly.
That's the first thing, okay? And I really, like I said, I mean this, but that's kind of what it implies, is you're just too lazy to change it. I get it, it's convenient. That's the biggest thing people always say, convenience. But here's what I'm noticing. Digital games, everybody says, well, they're cheaper. Bullshit. I have gotten more deals on
No,
physical
actually,
stuff
you're right there.
than the
Yeah,
digital,
they're
because
not cheaper.
stores have limited physical shelving space, which means at certain points in time when those games aren't moving, guess what? They go on sale. And I can promise you, they usually go on sale long before the sometimes there's the odd way around, but I thought digital games should automatically be cheaper. They don't have the middleman, they don't have the distribution costs. So why isn't getting, say, Halo Infinite immediately $10 cheaper to buy the digital copy than it would be to buy the physical copy? Now,
I cannot.
obviously, that's a bad
I,
example because it's going to be in Game
exactly.
Pass. But you know what I'm saying?
I totally understand, because it's like I said, I get this stupid answer, and they say digital is more convenient, so it's more expensive. But I
Mm,
said, you've got to print a box, you've got to make a box, you got to get discs made, you got the artwork done. But surely the physical media should be cheaper, not the digital. But it
mm,
seems the other way around. But I think until digital have real sales and the prices are realistic and the refund policies are better than what they are, because on
mm.
Steam they're very good. On Xbox and PlayStation they're non-existent. You
Yeah,
know, I think that they have to sort all that out, and then people will be more accepting to it. They will,
right.
you
Yeah.
know.
I get it. And Dreadpool brings up a great point. It's convenient when I travel. Like
That's
personally,
true.
like if you're going to be digital on any platform, something like the Switch makes more sense because obviously you're traveling with the Switch, you're playing it for portability. Like who wants to carry around big physical cases and cartridges and stuff like that? That sort of thing. So I do get it. Um, but and here's the other one. This is the one that bugs me the most. And I saw this about 4 times already in my timeline the last days. I said, I bought Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Of course, I bought the disc version.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people chimed up and said, I'm just going to wait for the game to come to Game Pass or EA Play. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
whatever
know.
happened to wanting a game and going out and buying it? Like, it seems like every game now, like, it's pretty much the same bullshit. I'll hear, I'll wait. We saw that with, a lot of people did that with what's it, Exodus? What's that game? Came out, Metro Exodus.
Yeah.
An amazing game, and a game that should have easily sold bucket loads right from the moment it dropped on disc, physically, whatever. And people are, I'll wait and see if it comes to game, but and it's just, to me, it's
It's
like,
terrible.
are
It
you
is.
real? Are you really? I get it. You're trying to save, and I get that point too. I'm trying to save some money, trying to save some money, trying to save some money. I get it, but at the same time, back in the day when there was none of this digital shit, and people wanted a game, they fucking went out and bought it. So what changed? Nobody had complained about buying the games back before they were digital, when it was a cartridge, or just because you had no choice. So now, basically, what you're saying is you don't want the games, really, honestly, because you just either want to save money, or most importantly, it's just because you're automatically expecting stuff to go to Game Pass. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's the problem, because a lot of people say, "Oh well, I'm not entirely sure whether I'll get Cyberpunk. It might come out in 6 months on Game Pass."
That's why I think
Right.
Microsoft is being stupid, because honestly, I know the reason they put their day and date games in Game Pass is so they could sell more Game Pass. But here's the deal. How many people would double dip if they decided to say, well, the next Gears of War 6 only comes to Game Pass after 6 or 7 months. So you have no choice but either download a digital copy or get it physically. Okay. Maybe even if you bought it, maybe you say if you went ahead and bought it digitally. Okay. Theoretically
Yeah.
speaking, they could say, well, if you bought it digitally, you'll get a certain discount or something, or rebate back if you get it on Game Pass later, right? But something like that. But how many people would have went out and bought if Gears 5 didn't come to Game Pass on day and date? How many people do you think would have went out and bought that physically? Would have drove the sales of the game right through the roof.
I would have bought it but even though I have Game Pass, I do buy all the Gears of Wars and I own all the Halos as well. Even though I'm not a major Halo, but if I want a game, I will buy it regardless of the Game Pass. I will, But it's just back in the day, I'd rent it from Blockbuster. Yeah, a lot of people would. Yeah, shame that Blockbuster went.
Well, it's another great place with Dreadpool because, see, for me, I didn't rent a lot of games. Basically, if I rented a game, it was a game that I was on the fence about, and that is probably the biggest benefit of Game Pass. Is it not? Yes, it does save you money up front, but it also saves you money in case of making a bad decision. Because a lot of us have gone out and bought games. I just recently, guys, went out and bought Avengers, and I'm not going to lie, I traded that game in. I thought that game was absolute junk. It looked good. I thought it had a great opening level, and after that, it bored the shit out of me, and I hated the combat mechanics. I'm not a fan of Avengers. I'm not a fan of the fact they took a superhero game and decided to make it another Destiny collect-a-thon bullshit level up kind of game. Like, I'm sick of that crap already. So that game got traded, right? But thank God I bought it physically because I could trade it. If I bought it digitally, guess what? I am screwed. So there you go, and that's another advantage, right? But with Game Pass, at least if you go and play a game that you went, man, I really wanted that game, but after playing it, I'm like, oh man, I would have really burned me on $80. I know I'm going to like Gears of War. There's a 90% chance I'm going to like that, and I'm going to like Halo or Forza. But anything after that, that's hard to say.
No, most definitely. I mean, there's a lot of games that I didn't think I would like in Game Pass. Game Pass is a big risk. I mean, when you've got kids and that, the family bills and that. 60, 70 pounds. It's a massive risk to a game you might hate,
Yes.
But the thing is with Game Pass, they do offer discounts, and when games leave Game Pass, they offer even bigger discounts. They do as well. But I think a lot of the idea is when you buy Game Pass, you get Game Pass, and even if the game's in there forever, they want you to buy the DLC that goes with it as well. I think that's the incentive for some of them.
But you know what the other intangible part is? The part that maybe I'm the anomaly or I don't know, but here's the biggest thing. This is the biggest reason why, to me, Game Pass doesn't work. I get the price thing. You get all these great games, you pay a fraction of the price. I totally get it. And that's why I think, and I will convince people, go buy Game Pass. It's the best deal in gaming. It's amazing. I'm not against Game Pass, and I have to reiterate that because every time I say something, people are like, Newf hates Game Pass. I never said I hated Game Pass. But one of the reasons it doesn't work for me either, one, I still like to collect. I like physical, and that's the obvious thing. But the other side of the coin is I have a life. I can only download and play so many fucking games. I got a backlog now that is out crazy, and I don't even have a fraction of the games that most of the community has. I see gamers on my Twitter timeline buying every single new game that's out, not to mention they have Game Pass. I'm like, where do you find the time? I don't want to keep adding to my backlog. I want to play and beat these games. I don't see the point if you're going to keep buying $80 games or $50 games or 70-pound games, whatever country you're in, and all it ends up doing is you play a level and it goes in the backlog. You know what I'm saying? What is the point of that? You're just collecting shit for the sake of it. Plus, we're limited on hard drive space. So the more of that shit you got, the more you download, the more you're either constantly deleting, constantly updating, do you see my point here? I can only play so much. I have a wife, I have a life, I have a fucking job that I constantly, by the time I'm home, I'm exhausted. It's late. People don't want to play. That's the other side of the coin. What drives me nuts. Back when I first bought my 360, I had no trouble finding a dozen people to play any game that I wanted to play. And I was on the 360 back before I had 300 fucking plus friends on my friends list. And I'll be fucking damned. I can put a game in and I can't find shit. Nobody wants to play anything. They're all either watching Netflix or they're playing every new game. It's like, it's stupid. It's like, what is the point? You tell us about social. We talking about friends. We talk about community, and fucking half the community doesn't want to play anything anyway. Oh, you want to play game? No, I'm not interested. Like, so, piss off with that shit. People call it the PlayStation, the lonely station, but fuck, they're all pretty lonely these days because it seems like there's so many games. Nobody plays the same shit anymore. And if you're not playing the game that just came out 20 minutes ago, well, 40 minutes later is a new game, and guess what people are playing? The new game.
That's not me. Definitely
and they don't want the old game. So, wait till Cold War, Call of Duty comes out. Guess what? Nobody want to play Modern Warfare then. So, there you go. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm on a really asshole rant here, but
No,
the
it's
bottom
good.
line is I don't
You're
have
right.
time. I don't have time for regular games, let alone 200 plus games on Game Pass. I'm not going to get the chance to play them. What is the point for me? Maybe it's great. Maybe if you're an unemployed person, like it seems like half of this community are half the time fucking unemployed playing games, get up in the morning to playing games, afternoon. Well, great. You either got a relationship that's obviously dysfunctional because they don't give a shit that you're playing games all day, or you fucking need to get a job. One of the two, because I don't have the time. And, people people platinum fucking games all the time. I'm like,
No.
where do you get that time? It's bad enough to finish it. It takes me 40. I've put about 50 hours into Ghost of Tsushima already, and I still feel like I'm going to be 50 more to go. And I'm like, that's one game. So where do you guys get the time for the rest of them? Holy shit.
I fully agree. I mean, before I had this accident, obviously working and that, I was lucky if I would get on the console about 9, 10 at night. And I've been working, I was knackered. I'd struggle, but in a minute, I'm only playing a lot of games because I'm off work and I can't do a lot else. But I don't play the console all day, literally, because I even start to get bored of that. I know I love games, but sometimes get bored of that, But
I mean, yeah. Is there jealousy in my voice here? Absolutely, because I wish that was the most I had to worry about, is getting up, getting my breakfast, and playing games 24/7 and making podcasts on top of it. Woohoo! But guess what? I got a life. That shit ain't happening, brother. It ain't fucking happening. So, yeah, am I jealous? Of course I am. I think a lot of us who work, have kids, have families, commitments, we're jealous. Of course they are. Because if I didn't have a job, I wouldn't have a house, and I damn well sure as well have a 70-inch TV and all the consoles in the game. So that's it. You got to work to play games, and guess what? If you're working, you ain't playing games. It's kind of a weird thing. You do one, you can't have the other. Maybe it's time management. Maybe I'm just terrible at managing my time, and that's part of it too. But anyway, I'm off on a crazy-ass rant. You can tell the Game Pass and the digital shit fired me up, eh?
Yeah, I knew it would. It's a good question, though. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome, Smitty Smith. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome, Puxley. Thanks for stopping by. Well, we're going to transition to more content stuff, we will. So before you even thought about getting into content creation on YouTube, did you watch any creators or content that inspired you long before you even thought about trying it? It doesn't have to be, gaming, podcast or anything. Any kind of content that inspired you to make content in your future,
But just before I answer this question, I just wanted to give a shout out to your awesome chat, because a lot of the guys, if not almost every name I see in here, has actually been over at my podcast. So shout out to the amazing chat, guys. And I do apologize in advance. I don't say this to I'm very passionate about game. I'm passionate the way I play games and how I consume games. I do apologize if I've offended anybody in here, because that's not my intent. I just hope that you appreciate my honesty. And like I said, sometimes we get passionate about stuff, but it comes from the heart. And some people love me for it. Some other people might hate me. But like I said, the chat here comes out to Gaming After Dark and all that stuff. So, I'm a gamer. I love gaming. I love the community. All that stuff. So just heads up. But to answer your question,
no, you're right. You might offend this lot because most of them come to midweek gaming, and on my show on Wednesdays, there's a lot of difference of opinion. We don't blow just because I like Xbox. We don't blow smoke up their arse and say everything's perfect. And the chat fully agrees with that. Yeah, but thanks for coming out, everyone. I really appreciate you stopping by. Please smash the like button and drop a subscribe and share this out if you can. Thanks for that. But yeah, carry on, Newf.
Okay. Well, I'll try to keep my answers as short as possible. Yes, but the bottom line is, and here's the real kicker, right? I've always been a gamer. Yeah. But as far as a podcaster, this kind of stuff, no. To be honest with you, I wasn't into YouTube. I wasn't into all these things a few years back. I rarely ever even watched YouTube, right? I didn't catch up in the internet hype and everything else. And it was just one day out of the blue, I don't know, I was bored, and I stumbled across a podcast. And I do believe the first podcast that I ever caught was Big Gamers, Small Talk. Some of you guys might have heard of it. I don't know if you have.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Anybody in the chat heard of Big Gamers, Small Talk? If you do, put a 1. I'd love to hear how many people know that podcast. I don't think it actually exists anymore, at least not the way that it used to. So this podcast, Big Gamers, Small Talk, BGST for short, it had a very charismatic, amazing guy hosting at the time by the name of Next Gen 720, or Zaire as people call him. And I still have a lot of love and respect for Zaire. He's a really cool guy. He's actually one of the funniest guys that I've ever seen in the podcast biz. People might not say that, but I think Zaire is a very, very funny guy, pretty down to earth and stuff like that. And he used to have some really witty videos. But anyway, it was Zaire, BGST. It was also Crap Gamer. Mooch was on there. There was a variety of other substitutes, but those are the three that stick out to me the most. I think maybe even Tim Dog was on there at some point in time. And that's what got me into it. It's like I heard these guys and I'm like, wow, there's people out in this world that like gaming like me and actually enjoy talking about gaming, not just constantly playing the games, but enjoy talking about games. I was like, wow, this is new. And I started watching this podcast and I got hooked. And I was just like, because I got a lot of friends, but I don't have a circle of friends where I live that are into gaming. Like nobody cares about gaming like me. Like I could talk about these new games, these new consoles, and they're kind of giving me like, the old, like I could care less, or I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Okay.
So I always felt alone. I felt like I have this amazing hobby, this amazing passion, and nobody to share it with, And that's why I really envy the couples that have like a wife or a husband or whatever it might be that really enjoy gaming as well, that understand the passion. Because when they don't, they're always just giving you flack for it. They just think it's just like child's games, right? But when you got somebody who understands where we're coming from and why this form of entertainment is the best entertainment in the world, they kind of go along with things and it's a little easier. But anyway, I love that podcast, and that was when those guys too, that's when they spoke their mind and they really represented Xbox really well. And I used to love that they were funny and they used to talk. Yeah, they shit on PlayStation a lot, but now there are a lot of those guys that, as you say in the community, have flip-flop. Now all of a sudden they're just hate Xbox. And that's the thing. If you're going to be in the podcast game, have some fucking integrity. You don't flip-flop. You know what I mean? Like, you either like something or you don't. And there's nothing wrong with liking both and being fair to both consoles. But to go out for clicks, to change your audience, to constantly, like, you can't have a podcast, first of all, called Xbox Nation. And all you do on Xbox Nation is piss off Xbox fans by talking shit about Xbox. That's not Xbox Nation.
It's not,
right? No, you can call out Phil. You can call out what they did. We all did. We all shit on Don Matrick. We were very disappointed with the way 360 was going, or the Xbox One in the early stages. The disappointment of seeing Lionhead fold, et cetera, et cetera. There was a lot of misplays by Microsoft, and we called them out. And you know what? At least Microsoft listens, because they've improved every aspect of the console that we bitched about. They've improved. They've improved the power. They've improved the controller. They got rid of Kinect. They've dropped the prices. They came out with a quiet, efficient Xbox One S. Then they gave us the amazing Xbox One X. You know what I mean? Like, Microsoft has been listening. I can't say the same for PlayStation. It feels like whatever PlayStation shovels out, I'm going to call them not the good fans, but the fanboys. They just shovel that in like an attic crack, But bottom line, BGST, get back on track. BGST got me into the podcast scene. I was like, man, I really like to do this stuff. It really seems cool having a podcast and being able to talk. So from there, I reached out to Mooch. And you know what? That's the thing I love about Mooch. Mooch doesn't have this swollen head where he's this one guy, one place, and then guy in the next. Mooch will always talk to me. Mooch would always invite me to stuff. He kept me in the loop. And I said, Mooch, is there ever a possibility I could probably be on your? He was doing Crossfire at the time as well on his Friday night podcast. Do you think I could ever maybe be on podcast? I said, look, I come from a radio background. I know how to speak. I love games. Maybe that can kind of go hand in hand. Sure enough, he got me on. I did his podcast. He thought I was outstanding in my first show, and that's it. And Bob's your uncle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You eliminated a few questions there.
And Phantom says it great. There's a difference between straight hate and constructive criticism. Like a lot of the stuff that we see through our Twitter feeds and throughout some of this YouTube community stuff is so childish. It's asinine. It's like you're a grown adult, and this is like, you can not like it just because you don't like a game doesn't mean the game is trash.
Exactly. No game deserves a 0. You know what I mean?
Right. And look, and people, one side of the fence says there's no media bias, but I am sorry, if you're an Xbox fan and you can't see the media bias, then you must be blind, because it's obvious the media prefers PlayStation, and it seems like every chance that most of them get, they take a shot at Xbox. Am I right? Am I wrong, guys?
You're totally
am I seeing something wrong?
But then when you speak to a PlayStation guy, it's all in your head. There's no bias.
It's all in your head. No, but every little thing, like like a year or two ago when PlayStation was dry and they had no games and Xbox was kind of killing it at E3 with all the game announcements, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, Sony having no games is the genius move ever. Oh, so that must be Xbox must be genius right now for not having first party titles for the launch. Am I right?
No, exactly.
They're all raving about this fucking controller now, which I get it. It's cool. It's awesome. It's, but at the end of the day, it's a controller with vibration. We've been fucking doing this forever. And these guys are going on about the dual. We're talking about the console that has to play games, like not the controller. You know what I mean? Fucking vibrators have been vibrating for 30 fucking years. I don't see them writing rave reviews about that. Come on.
You're
like,
right.
Fuck's sakes. It's just the bullshit you see.
You can blow into it. You can blow into it. It's revolutionary.
You can blow into it. You can shake it. Oh my God, man. And that's all I keep seeing is a controller. Well, that's cool. But to me, that doesn't, I'm talking about the games. I want games to be next gen, not the damn controller.
Exactly.
Like to me, VR is far more fucking next gen than a stupid controller.
I'd love to see that on Xbox. I would some form of VR. I've tried PlayStation VR. And I didn't get on with it too well because it was in a holiday camp in Spain, in Benidorm. And they had like a games room. And they had like PlayStation VR. It was only like, not this year, last year.
Yeah.
Couldn't go on holiday because of all the crap going on this year. And they had a room, it got PSVR in it. And I played Drive Club. Mm-hmm. I didn't think much. Maybe I've got crap eyesight. But I didn't get on too well. It made me dizzy and all that. But I'd imagine the games have progressed a bit on there since then. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's an early game. But I would like to see, even if Xbox don't produce their own headset, allow a third party headset to go on the system. Mm-hmm. And so people, although it's in the grand scheme of things, it's deemed as niche. Eventually, one day it might become mainstream. If you don't give people a chance to get used to it, it's never going to become mainstream.
Exactly. That that drives me nuts because a lot of the distractors I hear for VR, I say, "Have you even tried it?" No, I don't think it's for me. And I'm like, "Well, that's great. So you've never tried it. You don't think it's for you, but you're going to trash it. And VR is trash. We don't need VR." There is a massive market for VR, but you have to freaking try it. If you get sick, I get it. Yeah, it makes me nauseous. It is not for everybody, but nothing is, right? Exactly. And it also depends on what you play. It depends on how you play. It depends on your setup. There's so many factors, but VR is amazing tech. I love it. I hope to keep pushing the envelope. I don't think it should ever replace our standard gaming, and I don't think it ever will, to be honest with you. But to deny somebody else an amazing experience because you're too shallow-minded or just refuse to change, it's kind of like me, I suppose, refusing to change the Game Pass. People call me the old fossil, right? So there's really no difference there. But Game Pass is something else. Like VR is something else completely. You know what I mean? Like, and if you don't like it, whatever. But just if you don't like it and you never tried it, you should at least be kind of like, well, it's just not really for me. It's something that doesn't intrigue me, and you walk away. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Like Dance Dance Revolution games. I think they're great, but they're not for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but but that's how I got kind of, at the end of the day, that's how I really got into podcasting, is what inspired me. I've been on a lot of podcasts ever since, and I started out with GKB and She-Wolf and Lady Foxfire and Grey Knight. Was it Grey Knight or no? Oh shit, it feels bad. I can't remember because he had a couple different names, but he was something Knight. Some of you guys might remember. And that was gaming. Oh my God. Oh, what? This one always gets me. That was literally my first podcast that I was actually a member of. Gamers knows best. Gamers know best. Is that the one?
I've not heard of it. I don't know.
I can't even remember my first podcast.
Do you know?
Yeah, GKB was the guy. I'm just trying to think of it here. I can't remember the name, but it was kind of funny even how I got started, because with that particular podcast, I was a big fan of these guys. And of course, they were friends with Crap and Mooch and all that crap as well, right? Yeah. But what happened? They eventually invited me on to be a guest, right? And of course, I did the one show or whatever. And then they ended up doing this. Podcast tryout. They were looking for a new panel member. They had somebody that left, and they ended up having this podcast tryout, which was really interesting. And they did this over several different weeks, right? Okay. So what would happen is they'd have me on the podcast and they'd have another guest on the podcast. And basically, it was almost like going head to head on a podcast versus the other person. And then they get the people to vote on whoever at the end of this whole time. And they probably had about 6 or 7 of us try out for the podcast.
Yeah.
And at the end, they left it up to the people, the viewers. And I ended up getting, I think it was close to 60% of the entire vote. Wow. That they wanted Newf Nukem on that podcast. And I was blown away. I was like, wow. You know, it wasn't even really close. No offense to the other guys, but you know, I took it hands down, and it never really looked back. You know, so Magic Mike he was one of the guys I went up against, who later on did actually make that podcast. So yeah, he's a good guy. I don't think he does podcasting anymore, but he's a really good guy, really well spoken. Gives me a dreadpool of the way his mannerisms and the way he speaks on gaming. Yeah, it was a great crew. Who can remember the name of the podcast? For some weird reason, it's eluding me right now. Does anybody remember it? It was the Console Corner. For fuck's sake, the Console Corner podcast.
Okay.
And I got to give a shout out to them, because you know what? They did something that I haven't seen on the podcast scene since. That was very interesting. Go back and watch the videos, especially when I was part of the panel. They would actually have GKB and She-Wolf sitting in front of a desk, almost like a news show. And they would have the graphics running in the background, and then the chat's coming in on the overlay. Okay. And it was really, really cool. And they'd have all the background consoles and stuff. And it was really cool the way they did it. With the Gov, yes, the governor, yes, or GKB as we know him. But it was really unique. It was a great show. It was an interesting cast of characters. Again, you had 2 female members as well, which is pretty rare. And eventually I ended up having to, you know what was the downfall there? It was after remember the big hurricane in Florida a couple years ago? I think was it 2018, guys? Something like that?
May.
2017, 2018, there was a big hurricane there, and a lot of guys lost their power and different shit, and they were kind of out of action for a couple of weeks. Well, in particular, GKB and She-Wolf, they had some damage under their house, and they kind of took a bit of a break. And it was really weird, because when they came back, it was like something had changed, and the dynamic had changed, and it was like they'd lost interest in doing this podcast. And GKB, I think he took on a new job, and he was really busy, and he that was it. Because he used to be like the main host, and his wife was She-Wolf. Okay. She-Wolf was like sort of the co-host, but GKB was really the prime driver behind it. And then he got a new job or something. He couldn't really make, you know what I mean? He couldn't really make the show a lot of the times, and then everything just kind of went downhill. And eventually, too, it was also like my sense of humor was great, but their show, as it started to gain popularity, they were kind of like, Newf, you need to tone it back kind of a bit, and you got to do like this, you got to be like that, because they were starting to get like bigwigs from Microsoft coming out in the podcast chat, like Mike Ibarra and all those guys, right? And true.
Wow, that's
and
nice.
You know, and I was kind of like, well, if I can't be Newf Nukem, then what's really the point? You know what I mean? I don't want to be fucking filtered and told I got to be this way or be that way. Like, you get me for who I am, and if you can't accept it, then don't invite me to your podcast, because you know who I'm like, and I pull no punches. So yeah, but anyway, that was kind of it. Started with the Console Corner podcast, and from there I moved to Xbox Nation. After Xbox Nation, I ended up I was on the Saltiest Gaming podcast for a while. Shout out to Salty, and he had a great crew when I was there. I'm not going to lie, I still,
it was good.
I still like Salt. I still have respect for Salt, but he's got a lot of guys on that panel now that are absolute, for lack of better words, are idiots. And you heard it right here. They're idiots, but I'll leave it at that.
Hasn't he got one of them guys on that was talking about RDNA or something?
He had one of those guys talking about RDNA, and apparently PS3 has RDNA 3 and Xbox doesn't have RDNA 2. And I'm like, if you're going to be on a podcast and you're going to be that oblivious and naive, don't have those guys on the podcast, because you can't talk bullshit like it's fact and expect people not to call you out for it.
Oh, definitely. No, Phantom Kraken was saying, you know, you were talking about the winds and the storms.
Yeah.
Well, that's when Crap was asking people for money that his house had, or he was dying, or his house had been knocked down or something.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, it was, yeah, you know, it's amazing over all the years you look back with these questions are drawing up memories, and you think back to all the bullshit, you know, you're after going through. And shout out to Attack the Glitcher a few years ago. We had a really good podcast. I thought we had good. It was me and Glitcher and Invader and Proto Foxy and Stinking Corpse and
Jago on it, Jago
Kukin. Yeah.
That,
we had a great podcast going there.
That came back a few months ago. It's gone again.
Yeah. Gone again. Glitcher said he was good to go, and now he's not good to go. And yeah, it's long story there. But Glitcher's an amazing guy. I hope to get it back on the go, but I don't know. It's not the same podcast, to be honest with you. And that's the Game Dosage podcast. I came up with the name, for that podcast, and Glitcher was essentially the main host, and carried on his channel, and it went from there until it just kind of went. Everybody got busy, and voila. So,
fair enough. So, what made you actually want to start your own YouTube channel up and get into? Because it wasn't podcasting straight away. You first set up your channel, weren't it? You made gameplay clips and stuff like that to start with initially. It was.
That is true. It's kind of evolved. It's kind of started out as it really was a big hobby thing at the start. But then it just kind of manifested into something a little bigger, and it really is starting to take off now, especially since I've hosting my own show now with Gaming After Dark, and I have an incredible panel. I hope they stay with Titan Drago and Middle-Aged Game Guy. I was very fortunate because after losing Primal Eve, I was like,
I was a bit gussy by that because I messaged you saying, "What's going on? Is this some kind of beat?" And she's like, "No. There's no. She just life got in the way,
Well, she's an amazing girl. She's a very unique person, and people knew that, and it was why I thought the chemistry between us was incredible. But Primal's job changed, her commitments changed. Of course, life, illness, health, the whole shitstorm of different things kind of came into her life. And if anybody watched Gaming After Dark before Titan, before Mag, you would have known that she was kind of on the podcast, and then she'd leave early or she wouldn't show up, and we had to take a hiatus, and we came back and nothing really changed. And it just got down to the point where I literally looked at Primal and sent her a direct message and I said, you got to figure if you're in or you're out, because I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but perhaps if your life is that way, perhaps you need to step back and come back when things are good, because I got to have consistency here or this doesn't work. We got people that show up specifically for you, and they're like, where is she? And when you start to become a joke, and I know a few people that started this podcast stuff that did the same thing. They were in, they were out, they're in, and people are like making jokes or like, that fucking person doesn't know if they're coming or going. Then you're just like, well, no, we don't need that anymore. So that's all it is. I'm crossing my fingers that Tuesday night she's going to show up for Game After Dark. She actually may make an appearance. Crossing my fingers. You heard it here first, guys. I haven't made an announcement, but I'm hoping to have Primal on the show this Tuesday. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully, that'll be good. That will be, because
she
definitely. You two had a definitely good dynamic and chemistry. It works definitely.
Which is crazy because with me, Titan, and Mag, we have just absolutely nuts chemistry, and that's why I was concerned. I was like, when I lose Primal, I don't know, but I had a feeling with Titan because me and Titan were also co-members of TSGP, or the Salt East Gaming Podcast, for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then Titan had to take a little break, but right from the get-go, when I met Titan, I said, yeah, he's kind of got that charisma. He can articulate. He's kind of funny. You know what I mean? And I said, I think me and him would get along great on a podcast. So he was the first guy I basically said, Titan, dude, when somebody suggested it to me, I was like, yeah, dude's got to be on my podcast.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it definitely works. I mean, I call, is it Middle-Aged Game Guy? I've got the name right, yeah?
Sorry?
Is that who's on there? Middle-Aged Game Guy?
He's here with us now. Yeah, the Mag. He's also from Ontario, Canada. Another fellow Canadian.
He sounds like Mooch. Sorry, but he does.
It's really funny.
He's got that accent. He's a bit like him.
It's really funny you say that, and other people have said it, because I was the first guy who told that to him. I was the first one who gave him his first podcast shot. He was on my podcast one week, and I think by the next week he was actually a member of Primetime Gaming with Boomstick. I was like, wow, dude, you made an impression. And that was his first podcast, was on Gaming After Dark. And I said to him right after that show, I said, dude, I don't take this in the wrong way, because I said, I don't know how you feel about this guy. I said, but you are basically like a lot like Mooch. And it's not that he necessarily sounds exactly like him, but he has the mannerism of him. He the way he carries himself, and the way he sort of has that sort of that inflection of sort of excitement or anger, or like that was the thing with Mooch. When Mooch got on, you knew it was Mooch talking. He didn't sound like everybody else on the other side of the podcast. He was very distinct. And with Mooch, he always has some of those great one-liners, like the way he compares a game to a certain type of food or whatever. So that's what Mag has. He has that very witty. And if you guys have been watching Gamer After Dark, he came up with the Tony Baloney skit, which I thought was genius.
Like
it's so hilarious. Name that game with Tony Baloney. And he does, it's crazy. Hey, Cerebral Paul's in the chat. What's up, Cerebral?
Yeah, welcome, Cerebral Paul. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, so I mean that as a comment. I know there's guys in this community that can't stand Mooch. But you know what? Mooch is a cool guy, and whether you love him or hate him, like if he was all talking Xbox right now, most of the guys that hate him would love him. And I think most people would actually love to have a guy like Mooch on their podcast, just because of his dynamic personality. There's not enough Mooches in our community. Like, I mean that from an entertainment standpoint, not from anything else. But there's a lot of guys doing podcasts that pretty much sound like this the whole time. Hey guys, how you doing?
You're right.
Definitely. This is podcasting, it's gaming, but it's also entertainment. And if people aren't fucking entertained, well, guess what, guys? If you want numbers, they ain't coming.
Exactly. No, you are right. Definitely. So obviously you were good on podcasts. Do you have the as in you were guesting on shows, you're obviously liking it, you had the confidence. But when it came to you starting your own show, were you apprehensive about or nervous about starting one? And is it?
No.
You weren't? Okay.
No. And the reason why, and for those who know my background already, is I spent 4.5 years prior to podcasting in radio. So I was a morning show host. I was an afternoon drive show host, and I could easily fire up a board, not need one bit of script, and could actually spin stuff off. And Titan will tell you, I'm the kind of guy that can, I can ad lib pretty effectively most of the time. Yeah. I do have my off nights, or sometimes I'm on GAD where it feels like I have a vapor cloud over my head and I just can't speak. But there's other nights when I am just on fire. It comes from emotion, it comes from knowledge, experience, and obviously confidence that I can do that. So that was me. Like, this is my intro every morning. It's 10 after 7 in Fort Saskatchewan. We're at minus 15 degrees. We're expecting more snow today. Coming up in just a few moments, we have got a great story for you. Yes, indeed. And we also got some fantastic music. You're going to hear some new stuff from Metallica in just a few moments. Well, I'll be right back.
Nice. You still got it.
Yeah, like that was me. No script. That's kind of the reason I kind of got let go. And not really let go, I was given an ultimatum. Because I had this new boss who didn't like me, and we never got along. He didn't like the fact that I could fucking absolutely do that. That was the problem with it. He was fucking jealous. So he wanted me to script all my shows. And guess what happened when I scripted too much stuff? I started fucking sounding like a fucking robot. Like, it didn't sound like me. Like, every once in a while you're going to have an and an ah. And if you ever hear a radio guy who does not have any ums and ahs, that guy is either, he's nearly flawless, which is pretty much almost impossible, or he's got that shit scripted, so he's reading blank from the script. It doesn't happen. When we're on podcasts and we're live, everybody knows it's a lot harder to do than people think it is.
Oh, it is. A lot of people think it's easy. It's like before I even started doing the Stubzcast, it took me over a year to actually try and do and think about I actually want to do a podcast. It took me over a year of putting it off and eventually done it. I liked it.
And I'm used to public speaking. I'm used to being in front of microphones. Being a radio guy, I had to do a lot of live shows. I was a MC for a lot of events, that sort of thing, right?
Oh,
okay. But to give people confidence in the podcasting thing, like when people ask me for advice, which is weird because a few years I was asking people for advice. My advice is be yourself. Try to be entertaining. Remember that people are listening, and nobody wants to listen to you be boring. There are ways that you can talk about gaming and be interesting, but be yourself. And at the end of the day, sometimes you have to realize that podcasting is not for everybody, despite the fact that you might think you're the next best thing in podcasting. Maybe it's just not your shtick. You might be a great gamer, you might be very knowledgeable, but maybe it's just not your bag, So when you see your channel, if your channel's not going anywhere or the numbers are going backwards, maybe that's a telltale sign. I don't know. Right now, the biggest problem with our podcast community is there's too many podcasts, and I'm going to go and say it. That is the
You are
problem.
right.
We can't consume this. I can't consume the content fast enough now because every time I turn around, a new podcast, a new podcaster, a new panel, a new something, a new time slot. There's this, there is, and then you see like, well, and I get it. And I'm part of the problem because I've complained and said, well, nobody comes with my content. Well, maybe I'm fucking crap. I don't know. It's your prerogatives. How you spend your time is up to you. But at the end of the day, like, I just can't. I can only tune into so many podcasts because if I don't know, maybe some guys play their games and listen. I don't know how you do it. I like to be engaged in my podcast. You know that I'm usually if I'm actually listening to podcasts, I'm in the chat, right? And that's the way I like to be. I like to be interactive. I can't sit in my bedroom and play a game and actually be effectively listening to a podcast. It doesn't work for me like that. So if I listen to every single podcast that I really love, and there's a lot of them because a lot of you guys are great, but at the end of the day, I won't never game. I'm going to sit there and listen to 4 or 5 straight hours of podcasts. Tuesday nights alone are crazy. Like Tuesday nights, we got Retro Renegades. We got Retro Renegades, then we got RDX, and then it's my podcast, right? Like right in a row. It's like, holy shit, dude. That's almost 6 hours. Well, those guys sometimes go 3 hours. Some guys listen at work. Some guys listen in their car. I usually listen at home when I'm in front of my computer or on my phone, just chilling out. I'll listen in. Sometimes I'll get the whole podcast. Sometimes I get 15 minutes. Sometimes it might be 5, but I pop in, I try to listen to what I can. And sometimes it comes down to who's on the podcast, what guests they have, or what topics they decide to get into as well, right?
Well, most definitely. It's like my show. I mean, Midweek Gaming. I never actually set out to start Midweek Gaming. Well, you know Mr. Tucci, don't you?
Yes, he's awesome.
Well, what we were doing, I used to invite him and Removable Sanity on and a few others. And we were doing these reactions to the Xbox and PlayStation shows. Numbers were doing quite well. I'm not talking hundreds, just numbers are doing quite well. And they just turned around and said to me, why don't you just start a weekly show up on Wednesdays and we'll come on with you? So the regular panel members are Removable Sanity, Mr. Tucci, and VJ.
Mm-hmm.
It's also called the Brickcast in saying that. Mm-hmm. But what we do get content creators on. Mm-hmm. But we choose a lot of the time. We pick guests that are more community members and not content creators. Also people that haven't been on a podcast before, and it kind of works. People seem to like it. They feel more involved in the community gaming. They do, and it seems to be working. People seem to be liking it. So we do that weekly now on Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. We do. It seems to be working.
No, I know it's good. It's good. I mean, my favorite. Yeah, my favorite podcast overall, and technically it exists and it doesn't exist. My favorite podcast I've ever liked, and I love listening to it, and I'm going to tell you it was the one. It was M&C Mornings, Mooch and Crap Mornings, but that's when they had the Graphic God as their producer. Graphic God was the unsung star of that podcast. Didn't get enough credit. I don't need to get into the details, but they don't get along anymore. We'll leave it at that. But I love that podcast, and I'll tell you why. One, at the time, I was also I had been doing podcasts with Mooch and Crap, but I also had a lot of respect for those. Those guys got me into podcasting. They had a great dynamic on the show. Plus they did live calls. They did some graphic overlays, the whole 9 yards. It really was something that I hadn't seen a lot of people replicate. But again, it was largely because they had 2 great hosts. And they had an amazing guy running the board with J-Dubs, right? Graphic God. And it was great. But then, like I said, they had a bit of a falling out. It took a hiatus. They came back. They had some guy we nicknamed him Sully. I forget what his actual name was. He just didn't, I'm sorry. He just did not do the same stuff that Graphic God did. Okay. And they got another guy, I think, doing it now. And it's still not the same. It's not the same show. No, it's replicated, but it's not even close. That sometimes it's funny, you got to lose something before you realize what you got. And that's a perfect situation right there. If that show was still running the way it was, man, I'd be like tuning in like crack. And the best thing too, it was not only a great podcast, but it was fucking on Sunday morning. And for me, I'd get up and listen. I get my cup of coffee. I'd sit back in my bed because I'm still kind of waking up and be listening to those guys cracking it off. Dude, it was fucking awesome. Everything about it to me was great. There's a lot of other amazing podcasts, don't get me wrong, but to me, that one it struck all the nerves, right? It was funny. It had lots of info. The guys were a little bit more pro Xbox, and I always enjoyed, especially listening to Mooch and Crap kind of roasting Sony over the open fire. But of course, now it's completely the opposite, and I can't understand why. Like, doesn't make no sense. But I know why. I think I know a large reason why. But yeah, but that's it. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, most definitely. You're definitely right there.
Yes, and Graphic Gods was and still is fantastic. I'll admit 100%. Smitty Smith, he does my graphic art, bro. And like I said, Retro Renegades, a fantastic little podcast that should get more love. The guys are they're laid back and they're fun. Between them and Gaming Beyond the Box, they kind of have that sort of, it's like not really structured as much, so it's kind of dynamic. Goodang, yes, and Goodang is cool. Goodang's cool, but it's just not the same MC anymore, bro.
No, definitely not. No, I mean, I listened to it. I didn't listen to it for long. I didn't. I wasn't,
Yeah.
But that was when Graphic God was still there. We won't get into it because people are trying to get the dirt of us. But there is a podcast available with all the dirt in. DM me and I'll find a link. I'll find a link for you.
Yeah.
People, if they haven't heard it. But no, yeah. Basically, you've had quite a few shows. I mean, I've gone through your YouTube from the random cast to mix it up with Newf Nukem, to goofing it with Nukem, to eventually settling for Gaming After Dark. Have you learned anything over your time doing your own podcast along the way? Like, made any mistakes or stuff like that? Or what you've learned?
Well, as I said, the thing is be yourself, right? Be yourself, be who you are. People got to like it and do it for the right reasons. Do it because you love it. And if the success comes, I think great. If you work really hard at it too, I like to see success. That's why, like I said, like Boomstick works really hard and he deserves the success. Some people don't like him, and that's fair enough. No, not everybody likes Newf Nukem. Not everybody likes whoever else. Maybe there's people that don't come out to you stuff. Maybe they don't like you. You know what I mean? We can't please everybody, and that's fine. It's your time and it's your prerogative. But be yourself. Try to be entertained. Remember that, because what I just said, there is so many podcasts right now. Before you start one, try to find a new angle. Try to find a way to bring something fresh, because a lot of the times when you watch 3 or 4 podcasts, for example, we've all regurgitated a lot of the same stuff. We're talking about a lot of the same topics.
Yeah,
so if you watch one podcast, the second one's pretty much going to be more or less the same, but there might have a difference of opinion with certain panel members. So I guess at the end of the day, it's watch the podcast you like. Take from them what you think they're doing well. Try to scrap the stuff that you think could be better. Align yourselves with the right people. But I guess most importantly too is also remember this: you don't know who's listening or who is watching, so always be careful of what you say. It doesn't mean it's okay to be, say, like a closet racist or something like that, but at the same time, I've made some mistakes. I've said a few stupid things that were only meant as jokes. They were never meant to be offensive or wrong. But people in this fucking community are insane with this shit, and the thing is, they'll screenshot your shit. They will fucking take audio clips on your shit, and they'll post it the moment they think they got a weapon, because and that's happened. If you're not successful,
dealers suffered with that problem
too. If you're not successful, they don't come after you. But the moment you start to get bigger and they start to get a sense of either scared or because there's money to be made in this stuff, right? Kid you not. You might not make a living on it, but anybody that's even relatively successful, like several thousand subs or more, and they're getting super chats, are making some money. I would imagine Dealer is actually hauling in quite a few dollars right now with his podcast. A lot of people say it's huge or it's big, but he's making some money on that. Don't worry about that. I can promise you that one right now. Same as like Boomstick or anybody else that's moderately successful. They're doing okay. Like, it's a nice little sideline. But be yourself and watch what you say, watch what you do. Because like I said, as soon as you start getting successful, people will headhunt for you. They've already come for me several times. The only reason I don't get as much crap is because I'm not looked at as much as like a big Xbot or a big pony. You know what I mean? Because I've always been fairly opinionated, but fairly neutral the way I go about things. I don't come across as being just like, PlayStation fucking sucks, Xbox fucking sucks. I'm not one of those guys. I have the consoles. I play them. If you look at my Twitter timeline, for example, do you see me attacking people? No. Do you see me constantly making fun of people? No. Do you constantly see me with like, oh, PlayStation, like always making fun of other consoles. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not like that. That's not, every once in a while I have fun. Like I might make a joke about how big the PlayStation is, or I might say something about, something Xbox related that's funny. You know what I mean? Like, but it's all in good fun. That's the thing. But there are guys who make a living on Twitter and Facebook. That's all they do. They're on social media and they're just constantly. They can never say, "Yeah, Gears of War 5 was amazing, man." Like I'm a PlayStation guy, but Gears of War 5. No, you see very little of that. You just see the guy that goes, Gears 5 sucks. Metacritic fucking hate. Xbox got no games. Like, and over and over again with this crap, right? So be yourself, be funny, and watch what you say and do. And like I said, like take your podcast. I encourage everybody to start. If that's what you want to do and you want to have fun, do it. But do it because it's fun. Do it because you love it. And again, take the good stuff from people that you like. And that's the thing. Watch who you like, listen to people that you like, and borrow from that. If you're able to make guest appearance, and all it takes, guys, is reaching out to people and saying, I'd love to be on. I've given so many people already that I have no even idea who they are, shots on my show, and giving them a little platform. And there you go. Right. And I do a couple of things, obviously, to my show that makes me fairly unique. I mean, one, people do know me as Mr. Boom Boom Kaboo. I'm the guy that comes in. I'm a little bit loud. I can be obnoxious at times. I'm not that point. Like, see, that's the thing. I'm self-conscious who I am, and I am who I am. I don't pull any punches, I admit when I'm wrong, and I'm wrong quite a bit. I don't claim to be perfect. Some guys this podcast can claim to be like fucking perfect, but I am not. I make mistakes. I'm human. I don't know everything about gaming. I don't know everything, and basically if I don't know something, I try just not to talk about it, because I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass about PCs, for example, when I know next to nothing about them. I just know they're cool, but they're not for me. But you know what I mean? So
no, most definitely. Yeah, that is very, very good advice to anyone that wants to start a podcast or get into YouTube in general. Yeah, thanks for that, Newf. That's very good. Now, one thing I noticed on your channel, which a while ago, you I think Graphic God done you some artwork for Gaming After Dark. Mm-hmm. The question is, your Gaming After Dark, why don't you put that into a thumbnail on YouTube?
I thought I did already.
No, all of each show, it's just it's not in the thumbnail. I just wondered, that was all.
I don't know. Well, I've had some issues with YouTube. Sometimes, like, I go to make changes on my channel and it doesn't let me log in. It tells me I have to log out, but I'm already logged in. I know some stuff like that. And I guess I don't spend enough time on the technicality side of things. Yeah. Like a lot of people say you should do as an OBS and you should do this and you should have a lot of these other things. And I'm like, you know what? It's great. But honestly, I'm such a small chump in this community that it's just like, I don't know. I don't have the time. I really couldn't be bothered. I guess I should work harder at that. But to be honest, if you ask me right now, which would you rather have, success as a YouTuber or success as a streamer? I'll tell you, I'd take the streaming any day. I'd rather be a big Twitch streamer than a podcaster. And I'll tell you why, because I love gaming, and that way I can kind of do a little bit of both at the same time.
Oh, most definitely. No, I just wondered, that was all. I mean, to be honest, by the numbers you're getting on your podcast, the thumbnail is irrelevant, really. You're getting quite good numbers anyway.
The numbers are good. At least they're trending in the right direction, And I've done the community game night. I don't know if I'm the originator or not. I kind of in a way. I know. Actually, like before I got into it, where it really started was with the Console Corner crowd. They were doing a community game night. And we got into it with them and She-Wolf and, like I said, Lady Foxfire, myself, and a few others. And they kind of really started it. But they were very, well, I guess I am too, but they were sort of on and off with it, right? Okay. And then I sort of decided to carry on the torch a little bit. And then I more or less promoted it and made it more of a thing, whereas there's a little bit more of a sideline dig. And people in the community started picking up on that and getting involved. And of course, now I reached out to the community. So, like, people would say, well, Newf, yours is good, but I live somewhere in England, and and I can't make it to your show, like onto the community. I said, well, why don't somebody in your neck of the woods, why don't you guys start it? And of course, Mr. Tushy took up the mantle, and I'm glad that he has, and he's done a great job. He's been consistent. I haven't done one for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, he's doing the weekend. He done one Friday, he done one Saturday. He's got one tonight. It's because he's got the week off work. You see, he's got about 2 weeks off work for the Xbox.
Well, when I work on a Saturday night, by the time, like, as I try to do mine generally at, like, I think it's 6 p.m. my time, which would be 8 Eastern over here. 6 p.m. my time, 7 hours. So that's like that's basically 1 o'clock in your neck of the woods. Kind of late for anybody in your neck of the woods starting out, getting into games at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So, that's when I do. So that makes it really tough for anybody that's not in North America, especially if you happen to be on the East Coast pass. If you're in the West Coast, fine, you're in my time zone. But and that's always finding the right games, finding the games that most of the community play. That's why I find Call of Duty is the easiest to pick, not because I just think it's the best. It's just because it's a game that universally it seems like most people tend to have a copy of, whereas a lot of other games are hit and miss. I love Forza too, but Forza is just, some guys just don't get into it. They don't really like racers. Racers are just not that popular overall. So, I mean, Tushy tries to mix it up. He's kind of been doing a little bit of both.
He tries, but he can never get it right. There's always someone moaning saying, "I'm not coming then," or he tries, but he tries with Game Pass games a lot now. Yeah, it's more fairer. But no, he's really enjoying it. He is doing it. Yeah. Welcome, Green Pass Gaming. Welcome from Speculation. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
And just back to my podcast, though, in particular, I mean, some things that I do a little bit differently, obviously. Like, I'm not as technical savvy. I don't have all the fancy graphics and artwork. But, like I said, the one thing I know about me is I appreciate the people that listen and tune in. And anybody that knows me knows that I try my best to give everybody a shout out, acknowledge people when they have great stuff to say. That's because I know the value of our community. And you can't be successful in podcasting if you don't realize that the people like you have in your chat right now, and especially those who I see, like guys like Prophet and Fun Speculation, Indie Gamer, Phantom Kraken, the list goes on. These guys, I see them almost at every one of my podcasts. And you know what? Man, I wish I had the money. I'd be giving all these guys a free game just for showing up because they deserve it. But all I can do is say thank you for coming out and appreciate that you still like, subscribe, and support me, even when you may disagree with me. All that stuff, but like I do stuff that's a little different. Like I said, Stubz, you know me, I'm pretty vocal. I'm also a little bit raunchy. I do a lot of game stuff, but I also throw in that sexual innuendo, and that's not in a lot of other podcasts. I don't see too many people doing it. Some people could do it. I think some people are afraid to do it because they're afraid of, again, who's listening, and it might look bad on the podcast. And then I also do stuff like the Arnold thing. And I know a lot of people actually love Arnold and Cletus.
I do like them. They're great. They are.
Some people hate Cletus. Some people may hate the Arnold, but I think the majority do like it.
No, it's definitely fun when you do it. It is. No, definitely. Most shows you go on, they ask you, is Arnold going to make an appearance? Boom definitely does.
Yes. Well, Boom loves when Arnold comes in. Oh my God. When Boomstick was on my podcast, was it last week? And I did the Arnold segment. Oh my God. It was too hilarious. Oh man. It was funny. It was a good one.
Definitely. Yeah. No. I think we've got to all the questions, but I tell you what, it's been a really good show, Newf. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a very good conversation. I mean, people say the Stubzcast are interviews, but I see them more as, like conversations, and I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on this week.
Well, I loved it. I enjoyed my time, if it wasn't obvious already, because I had no shortage of stuff to say.
Oh no, I did expect that, so that's why I got loads of questions ready.
And I also love the fact you hit some great questions too that really made me go through my brain archives and think about some of these things, like getting into the whole pocket. And sometimes you kind of forget a little bit about that. Like, I mean, I feel embarrassed that I couldn't even remember the console corner at first, and this was like legitimately the that was my launching platform, more or less. Yeah. I wish those guys were still around. They tried to come back to you, but it didn't work. It lasted for a couple of weeks, and like I said, I wasn't part of the cast, and it was different. So, but yeah, so that's it.
That's fair enough. I mean, I was, when I first started doing the Stubzcast, it was during lockdown. I done it on every Saturday. I used to be every week, and I managed to do 23 episodes in 6 months of it.
Damn.
But I've not done one since the Daz on.
Right.
And I feel like it's probably been like a month, but I do them every 2 weeks now on Sunday nights as opposed to Saturdays. When it's not as a lot of people generally cast a Stubzcast as well on the replay. Because that's the advantage of YouTube. a lot of them catch it on the replay as well. But I do appreciate you coming on, because all the guests I have on, I do actually watch their content. It's not like I'm pretending.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I know. I've seen you out at mine, man. Yeah, we've gone back for a little ways, and I'll be honest. The podcasts I have the hardest time viewing, to be honest, overall, and some of the best podcasts are actually on the weekends. But that's my problem, because usually on the weekends I'm really busy, so I'm out and about either with the wife, or that's when I'm trying to get my gaming, because that's usually when, like, Sundays is right now, unless my work changes, is my actual day off, right? Yeah. So I have that one day every week that I can count on. The other ones kind of fluctuate; they come and go, right? So. But so it's kind of hard for me to catch them. That's why, like I said, MNC mornings had that perfect time, because it was early in the morning before I was doing anything. So I'd wake up to them and then catch it, and it was great. So anything after that, because I know like the Iron Lords podcast does theirs on Sunday. Shout out to those guys. That's another fantastic podcast. And podcasts like Xbox We Bleed Green with Dirk Griggity. Another fantastic podcast on Monday night. You got Primetime Gaming with Boomstick and company. The list goes on. A lot of great ones. Yes, so many good podcasts out there, like I said, and try to take them all in, and as much as you can, find out what you really like, and at the end of the day, make a playlist and try to catch them when you can. That's what I try to do.
Well, definitely. I mean, if people didn't know, I know not all podcasts do that, but if you were to type Stubz Gaming in on your preferred platform on like Spotify, Apple, the shows will come up under Stubz Gaming feed, but it will be Stubz Cast and Midweek Gaming in the same feed. Because some people, can't keep their YouTube open on the phone all day; it kills the battery. So it helps from that perspective,
Yeah.
But it just offers people different ways. I'm not saying everyone has to do it; just I do,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, thanks for coming on. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Well, I guess before I go, I should not let everybody down, because I know they're expecting it, right? You probably know what it is, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I got two special guests coming by to drop a special hello to everybody here. So here he goes, guys. It is Mr. Arnold himself. What's up, Arnold? This is fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for having me here. Stubz, it was great that you could have this idiot Newf Nukem on your show. I was listening to him, but most of the time I keep my ears closed. He just goes on and on and on, and he keeps on talking. I mean, oh my God, he's like the Terminator for podcasters. He just doesn't know when to stop. He just keeps going. But anyway, I want to give a shout out, you amazing crowd. You got Fugly in the chat, Prophet, Fanu Kraken, Fun Speculation, Wartsu is here. Green Pass Gaming, what's up? How you doing? We got so many great guys in here. The Indie Gamer, Smitty Smith, Dragon Wolf, the list goes on. The great cast, man. It's all about the community. Stubz, I love what you're doing. Keep it up, man. And I'm glad to know that your name Stubz is not because you have a small penis or anything. It's something totally different. That's great.
Thanks, Arnold.
So there you go. And last one. Oh, this guy really came out of the shed. I can smell the horse manure.
Well, hey, fiddly diddly. How's it getting on, guys? This is Cletus, huh? Yeah, fire show again today. Yes, sir, buddy. I was out in the barn over there, so hanging out with the pigs. But my God, I just let you guys know, I'm really glad. I've been exhausted, Stubz. I've been exhausted because I've been following this election, right? This election down here in the United States of America. And just, I can't believe how many people that just can't seem to count. I don't know what the hell's wrong with everybody, but anyway, I'm glad that shit's over. I ain't here to talk about politics, because that stuff's complicated. That's above my pay grade, you know what I'm saying? That I just like being on podcasts once in a while, just so I can come in and speak to you all, and every once in a while just reminds me as well that I still got at least one or two teeth in my head, and the missus, she's ready for bed, so I got to go off now, get my pants off, and give her a couple of good pumps, and we'll see what happens. I might have a little Cletus in 9 months. You never know. I could always use one around the farm, because damn pigs, I got it. If you get too many pigs, it get real hard to keep up with that shit. All right, see you, Cletus.
All right, thank you, Cletus. An Indie Gamer says, have you got an English accent as a bonus?
Need Newf's English accent. All right, I guess Well, guys, it's been great seeing you all here. I'm really glad that you guys could turn up for today's podcast. I think it's been absolutely amazing. You guys should know that Newf Nukem is going to be on TV on Tuesday nights. You can catch him there. He has a gaming after dark. It's a little bit raunchy, and he likes to get down with it. Of course, he has Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger on there once in a while, and sometimes he'll have Cletus, and he's got some great guys with the middle-aged game guy and Mr. Titan Drago. So it's a pretty good podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and we'll see you back here next week. That
was English / Australian, I think.
Yeah, a little bit in between there, right?
Yeah.
Shit.
It's been fun tonight. Thanks for coming on. Thanks, Green Pass Gaming, for stopping by. Indie Gamer, Phantom Kraken. Who else we got? Just come check. Smitty Smith, Fugly, War Stew, Profit, Fun Speculation. Well, there's been loads tonight. I really appreciate it. Just trying to get Cerebral Pool, Dragon Wolf. Loads, too many to fast back, all sorts. I truly appreciate it. I do.
I used to try doing a Daz one time. It's like, he goes, is that does it? Yeah. Well, you better come on down there to the pub then, because we're going to get all figures on, eh? I know. One time I did a pretty good Daz. I haven't been able to do it for a while. My voice is almost stripped out right now. I've been talking so much, so.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Indy reckons that wasn't a British accent. That was an Australian accent.
All right, so I'll keep the Australian one in the bank in case we need it for our Australian brothers.
Yeah, definitely. Right, thanks everyone. Hit the like button. Also, just want to promote my show. I don't normally do midweek gaming this Wednesday at 5 p.m. EST, 10 p.m. UK time. We have Cerebral Paul and Assassin Looper on the show.
Right.
And this show in 2 weeks' time, I have Profit on.
Nice.
I do. Would you want to promote yourself? Tell people where they can find you.
You guys know you can always find Newf Nukem in the gutter, and when I'm not in the gutter, I am on Gaming After Dark on Tuesday nights at 10 Eastern. That is 10 Eastern in North America time. That would be 1 a.m. in the morning if you happen to be in Stubz Land of the Sun.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. And this week, guys, I hope that you will turn up. I understand if you don't, because I know it's going to be a really busy Tuesday, and people are going to be very excited with their brand new plastic boxes, whether it's the Xbox Series X or the Xbox Series S. It is the launch week. We are still doing the show because it's Tuesday night, and we're pretty excited about this show because we're all hoping, at least I know me and Middle-Aged Game Guy, hoping that we'll have our Xbox Series X on Tuesday. I think Titan will have one as well. We got 2 amazing guests lined up for the show already, including Griggity himself, and we will have the always amazing Mr. Wilmy Hood will be joining us as well, unless something has changed, but it seems like everything's a go. There is a possibility, at this point it seems pretty good, that Primal might be there, at least for a few minutes to pop by. Let the cat out of the bag on that one. And we may have a few more guests as well. And it's going to be an all Xbox-centric show, which means no BS. We aren't there to light the torches for PlayStation or any of that junk. We're just going to be talking about our favorite Xbox memories, our favorite Xbox launches, what we think of the console, if we've been able to even play it any length of time. Just a real Xbox celebration show with amazing guests, obviously incredible panel that's going to be dynamite. We're going to have a lot of laughs. You guys won't regret it if you show up, so we hope that we'll see you guys there. And again, that's on Gaming After Dark this Tuesday night. And I will try my best next weekend to do a community game night. I'll pick a game, and I'm going to try my best to get that going next week because it's been a couple of weeks since I did one last, and I appreciate your guys' patience. So thanks so much. And Stubz, great show today, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me here. I'm always game for this stuff. Enjoy this, and I hope that your chat enjoyed it too.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely enjoyed it. It was definitely a fun chat. It was the chat definitely enjoyed it. There's some fun laughs and stories and engaging conversation. It was a lot of fun, to be honest. It was. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Right, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks or midweek gaming on Wednesday, everyone. Right, thanks, and I'll see you all soon.